Chapter 1026. The Emperor of the Underworld was shocked and even more puzzled. Could it be that the other party's injuries had already healed? Otherwise, how could he have the confidence to challenge him again? If the Emperors of the Six Realms are only at your level, then the Six Realms should indeed be destroyed, the golden-haired man said softly, looking high and mighty. His hair danced in the wind, and his golden robe made him look like a golden sun. I think you really don't know what death is. The Emperor of the Underworld's leader had a gloomy expression. He condensed his blood essence, and his blood energy rushed into the sky like a long dragon. Black runes were everywhere around him. Those were the most powerful great Tao of the Underworld. In a few breaths of time, his injuries had also healed, and the two emperors beside him stepped out at the same time. At this moment, the three emperors from the underworld came out together and charged towards the golden-haired man. 3 emperors? So what? My royal family is not afraid. The golden-haired man let out a long roar and revealed his background. He should be from a very powerful family in the boundless world. Boom! Next, a few people fought fiercely. The sky seemed to be blooming with endless fireworks. Great Tao runes collided and were constantly annihilated. Everyone found it hard to believe that the golden-haired man was actually so powerful. He fought the 3 emperors of the underworld alone and actually didn't lose for a while. Moreover, some people saw very clearly that the 3 of them were actually showing signs of being suppressed by the golden-haired man when they attacked together. Too strong! Is this the strength of a powerhouse from the boundless world? Someone exclaimed, and his heart fell to the bottom. If the emperors of the boundless world were all like this, then the 6 realms would indeed be in danger. After all, the 6 realms now existed in name only. Because of the foreign realm, there was only one divine realm left in the 6 realms. It was too difficult to fight against the boundless world with the power of the divine realm. Moreover, everyone could see that the cultivators from the boundless world were indeed very strong. Generally, they were much stronger than the cultivators of the 6 realms. It's over. I can't suppress them anymore. Just as the 4 emperors were fighting in the sky, Jiang Chen's expression was very ugly in the back mountain of the 9 Heavens dynasty. Since the arrival of Venerable Red Lotus and the others, the bone coffin had undergone some changes. The coffin trembled as if the lid was about to be opened. At first, Jiang Chen could only use his hands to press down on the coffin lid, but now, with the arrival of the Emperor of the Great Thousand World, Jiang Chen's entire body was lying on the coffin. But even so, the coffin lid still shook violently, almost flipping Jiang Chen over. Old 9! The coffin lid can't hold it down. Jiang Chen cried out in alarm, wanting Old Zhou to help. However, after a few breaths of time, Old 9 didn't appear, as if he wasn't in the 9 Heavens imperial court. Didn't they say that only Huang Tian's corpse was left in the sky-burying coffin? Why was it that the coffin lid was about to collapse? Could it be that the corpse has gained sentience? Jiang Chen was shocked. Just a bunch of ants. After a dozen or so breaths, several explosions suddenly came from the sky, followed by an extremely contemptuous voice. This voice came from the golden-haired man. At the same time, the fireworks that filled the sky dissipated, and the 3 emperors from the netherworld fell from the sky like kites with broken strings, heavily falling to the ground. No one knew whether they were dead or alive. On the other hand, although the golden-haired man's body was stained with blood and his hair was a little messy, he was fine. His aura was still very strong, like an indestructible golden sun, hanging in the sky, intimidating the hearts of all living beings in the 9 Heavens divine realm. I know that there are people in the 6 realms who want to submit to the Great Thousand World. The golden-haired man said contemptuously. It's a pity that the dirty creatures from this burial ground don't even have the qualifications to submit to our Great Thousand World. In a few days, the burial ground will be destroyed. However, just as the golden-haired man finished speaking, many people heard an earth-shattering explosion coming from somewhere. At this moment, Jiang Chen was dumbfounded. The lid of the bone coffin was lifted, and Huang Tian's corpse suddenly stood up. Jiang Chen was shocked, and he did not understand what was going on. Could it be that the corpse was really sentient? Before Jiangchen could react, suddenly, a yellow light burst out from the corpse, turning into runes and poured into Jiangchen's body. At this moment, Jiangchen's eyes were filled with pain. As if his soul and body were being devoured, he gradually lost control of his body. However, at the same time, an indescribable power burst out from his body, giving him an illusion that he was invincible. Of course, all of this was not the key. The key was that after the power in his body suddenly burst out, he was actually controlled and rushed into the sky. At this moment, the living beings in the 9 heavens divine realm saw a shocking scene. They saw a living being shrouded in yellow qi. His appearance could not be seen clearly, but he gave people a feeling of invincibility. He rushed up like a golden rock, soaring 90,000 miles into the sky, straight into the clouds. Boom! Then, without waiting for the crowd to react, the living being who was shrouded in yellow qi punched out. The fist radiance was like a vast ocean, drowning the blonde man in an instant. "You're courting death." Under the fist radiance, the blonde man roared angrily, and then there was an earth-shattering explosion. However, in just a few breaths' time, the crowd saw the blonde man throw away half of his body and run away in a panic. Who is that? So powerful. He actually beat back the golden-haired emperor all by himself. The crowd exclaimed, and they were even more emotional. They seemed to have seen hope. Don't let him go. Don't chase after him. At this moment, the living being who was shrouded in yellow qi was roaring angrily in his heart, and there was a trace of bitterness in his heart. And this person was Jiangchen. His body was out of control, and he actually chased after the blonde man. Then, in the eyes of the crowd, Jiangchen's body was like a rock piercing through space. With a shake of his arms, he slapped the blonde emperor down from the sky. He chased after him? So fierce. There's such a fierce person in the world of the living? Which force is he from? The crowd exclaimed. Then, they saw Jiangchen punch down and completely destroy the body of the blonde emperor. However, as an emperor, it was difficult for him to truly die. The blonde emperor roared angrily and burned part of his essence. His soul turned into a ray of light and escaped into the void. Only then did he escape. Take it easy. Don't chase after him. What if there's a large group of emperors waiting outside? Jiangchen felt bitter in his heart. He knew that the power in his body most likely came from Huang Tian. However, why did Huang Tian's power suddenly erupt? Why did he attack the living beings of the upper-class world? Also, what was going on with this power? Was he going to control his body forever? Then, wasn't this no different from being possessed? But this feeling of invincibility is really good, Jiangchen muttered in his heart. Chapter 1027. The golden-haired emperor was extremely powerful. He fought the 3 emperors of the underworld alone, and was not at a disadvantage. He even suppressed the 3 of them. In the eyes of many people, this kind of posture was invincible. However, no one expected that a mysterious creature shrouded in ecliptic qi would appear out of nowhere and chase after the golden-haired emperor to beat him up. This degree of ferocity really refreshed everyone's understanding of the emperor. "There is always someone better than you!" someone exclaimed. At this moment, Jiangchen's heart was very bitter. He enjoyed this feeling of invincibility, but at this moment, his body was out of control. After the golden-haired emperor escaped, Jiangchen still stayed in the outer realm. Facing the endless stars and darkness, he stood there quietly like a statue. Jiangchen was screaming in his heart, "Hurry up and go back." However, the violent power in his body seemed to have its own consciousness. It guarded this place and refused to move an inch. "Why aren't you leaving? Brother! If you have consciousness, hurry up and leave! There is more than one emperor in the great wide world." Jiangchen roared in his heart, extremely angry. "How dare you! There is an emperor like you in the burial ground? That's right! Interesting." Half a day later, in the outer realm, on the other side of the endless starry sky, two loud voices came with boundless confidence and arrogance. When Jiang Chen heard this, he subconsciously wanted to run. However, his body was out of control. "I say, brother! Don't mess with me! I'm only in the heavenly god realm!" Jiang Chen's face turned green. However, the power in his body was not affected at all. It still controlled Jiang Chen's body and stood there, as if it was going to fight the two emperors. After a dozen breaths, 3 streams of light flew over from the other side of the starry sky. Upon closer inspection, it was not 2 emperors, but 3. Moreover, one of them was the golden-haired emperor who had escaped earlier. "You humiliated me! You will die today!" the golden-haired emperor roared. Previously, he was defeated and half of his body was cut off. He was forced to burn his origin energy to escape. This was undoubtedly a humiliation to him. Now he had called for help, and these 2 people were not weaker than him. I can speak now?" At the same time, Jiang Chen found that he could actually speak. However, the other parts of his body were still under the control of that power. At this moment, Jiang Chen was at his wit's end. What else could he do? "Let's play. You're just 3 ants from the outer realms. My 6 realms isn't a place you can touch." Jiang Chen deliberately changed his voice, fearing that others would recognize him. At the same time, as soon as he finished speaking, the energy within his body suddenly went berserk, and he charged out. "Oh my God! He's doing it again! Is he going to fight the 3 emperors of the Great Thousand World by himself? How dare you! My young world actually has such a great person." Everyone cried out in shock, their eyes full of fanaticism and worship. Some people were even trying to find out more about Jiang Chen's background. However, Jiang Chen's entire body was enveloped by the aura of the ecliptic path, concealing his aura. Even the great Tao couldn't get close to him. At this moment, he could be said to be invincible. When he charged out, his fists pushed out horizontally, and like 2 brilliant suns, they tore through the void. The stars in the outer realms were resplendent, but under these 2 fists, they were as weak as fireflies, pitifully weak. Boom! Boom! In an instant, a fierce battle broke out, and the sound of battle rang out. The outer realms seemed to have turned into a chaotic domain, and the 4 emperors fought fiercely. However, after only a dozen breaths, the golden-haired emperor was sent flying. Half of his body collapsed, and even half of his soul was torn apart. He wanted to escape, but this time, Jiang Chen wouldn't give him any chance. A palm print crossed the sky and directly crushed the void. It even kneaded the space within 10,000 miles into a piece, and even the golden-haired emperor's soul and body were kneaded into it. Bang! Then, Jiang Chen suddenly clenched his fist, and that piece of space collapsed and was annihilated. Even the golden-haired emperor was crushed to death, turning into powder and dissipating from this world. An emperor of a generation had fallen. After a few breaths, a beam of ecliptic path energy erupted like an azure dragon. As the dragon roared, it descended from the sky and swallowed another emperor. Bang! This emperor was very powerful. The divine ring on his body erupted, and the emperor's power surged. He tore the dragon's head apart and attacked. However, what awaited him was 9 streaks of ecliptic path energy that transformed into an azure dragon. Boom! Boom! After 9 consecutive explosions, the emperor was pushed back a great distance. The divine ring on his body was annihilated, and even his soul was trembling. At this moment, the emperor was shocked. He knew that things were not good, and he turned around and escaped into the void. Then, the other emperors saw that the situation was not right and also turned to run. "I will guard the 6 realms." At this moment, Jiang Chen roared. His voice was so loud that it resounded throughout the 6 realms. Of course, Jiang Chen was just bored. In this battle, he did not make a move at all. It was the power in his body that was attacking. And he was bored, so he just roared a few times. After all, this kind of invincible moment was very rare. This person is too strong. There is still hope for the 6 realms. He's too fierce. He killed a golden-haired emperor, and repelled 2 emperors at the same time. Is his strength invincible? Everyone was amazed. Even the 3 emperors of the netherworld were moved. They could see that this person was not a creature of the netherworld. There's such an emperor in the mortal world? Impossible, right? The mortal world has long declined. The laws of the netherworld are incomplete. How can an emperor with such combat power be born? The 3 emperors of the netherworld had recovered from their injuries. At this moment, they stood at the intersection of yin and yang and looked up at Jiangchen. Their faces were filled with shock and confusion. At this moment, Jiangchen's heart was bitter because the power in his body was still controlling him. Moreover, the power in his body was very restless, as if it wanted to chase after him. Don't, brother! Take it easy! Jiangchen felt bitter in his heart. Fortunately, after a few breaths, the power began to decline, and it drove Jiangchen's body into the void. After a few breaths, he returned to the back mountain of the 9 Skies Imperial Court, and returned to the side of the sky-burying coffin. At this moment, the power completely disappeared, and Jiangchen also controlled his body. Then Jiangchen closed the coffin's lid. He weaved mudra with both of his hands to seal the coffin one after another. What the hell? What's going on? Jiangchen stared at the sky-burying coffin in surprise. He knew that the power most likely belonged to Huang Tian. But why would Huang Tian's power enter his body? And why would Huang Tian fight against the emperor of the upper-class world? May I ask for your name, fellow cultivator? Suddenly, an ethereal voice came from the outer realm. It was like the sound of a bell, but also like the sound of chanting scriptures. At the same time, a man shrouded in Buddhist light appeared. A lotus platform under his feet bloomed with 9 colors. This was a Buddhist emperor. Buddhist emperor. Chapter 1028. The golden-haired emperor had been killed, the other 2 emperors had escaped, and now the Buddha emperor had come. Moreover, after the Buddha emperor came to the 6 realms, he did not enter directly but stopped outside. He was obviously looking for Jiangchen. Hey, you still want to find me? I'm not coming out. What can you do to me? Jiangchen cursed silently. He did not want to face the emperor again. Although that feeling was invincible, it was also frightening. If the power in his body suddenly disappeared during the fight, then Jiangchen would die suddenly. However, just when Jiangchen thought that everything would be fine, the coffin lid was opened again. It was as if Huang Tian's corpse had spirituality, and sensed that the emperor of the great world had appeared again. The coffin lid could not be held down anymore. It can't be, right? Jiangchen's heart trembled. Before he could run far, his body was controlled again. After that, that strand of familiar energy swept through his body once more, and it controlled his body to charge towards the outer realm. All right, since I can't help it, I might as well pretend to be happy. Jiangchen sighed and was forced to come to the outer realm in a few breaths. Then, Jiangchen shouted, Are you here to die? Get lost! Oh my God! This emperor of the Yang realm is too tough. Fierce. Show the might of the 6 realms. It's a blessing to have such a person in the Yang realm. People were praising Jiangchen, and some people were even worshipping him. At this moment, Jiangchen did not make a move because the power in his body was trembling, as if it was afraid of the Buddha Emperor's strength. Similarly, the Buddha Emperor did not make a move because he was also afraid of Jiangchen. Fellow cultivator, why don't you show your true appearance? The Buddha Emperor asked. My appearance is not seen by the world. Seeing it, I live and die. Jiangchen deliberately mystified. Anyway, he was forced to fight and his body was not controlled, so he could only be forced to act cool. After all, Jiangchen could only move his mouth. Everything else was under the control of the power in his body. Could it be that you are the protector of the 6 realms? The Buddha-Dharch frowned. There was a tinge of fear in his voice. Guardian? Heh, so what? In my eyes, I am the heavens of the 6 realms. Jiangchen's bragging was out of control. Achoo! Which bastard is scolding me? At the same time, In a small world, the angler suddenly sneezed. He was puzzled. In this era, there were still people who knew about him. There were still people who would miss him. After that, he walked out of the small world. When he raised his head and saw the Buddha arch in the sky, his face darkened as he thought to himself, "Is this bastard Baldy scolding me?" However, in the next moment, the fisherman's face not only darkened, but also turned green. It was only because he had heard Jiangchen say, "Protector of the Six Realms?" Heh, he probably doesn't have the guts to come out, right? Today, I'm enough. I really can't stand it. The fisherman's mouth twitched. He was really not used to hearing this. In the next moment, he held the fishing rod in his hand and took a step forward. His figure appeared outside the realm. Then, the fisherman pointed at Jiangchen with the fishing rod in his hand and said, "Where did this little bastard come from? How dare you slander me behind my back?" At this moment, Jiangchen was dumbfounded. This was because he saw that this person was the fisherman. Previously, Jiangchen was robbed by the woman in the ice coffin. It was the fisherman's disciple who saved him. After that, the two of them met once. The fisherman even brought Jiangchen into a stone forest. That was the resting place of an invincible being. Jiangchen knew that the fisherman was not simple, but he never thought that the fisherman was the protector of the Six Realms. Damn it, however, Jiangchen had already acted tough. If he backed down and admitted defeat, wouldn't he lose face? Although no one could recognize him now, he could not lose in terms of momentum. "Old man! You're the protector of the Six Realms? Then I'll give you a chance today. Kill this person and prove your title as the protector of the Six Realms," Jiangchen said seriously. "If you can't do it, then I'll naturally do it. However, your title as the protector of the Six Realms is too fake. You called me old man? F***CKU. I'm going to explode." The fisherman was furious. He had lived for many eras and witnessed the rise of many powerhouses and the fall of emperors. But since ancient times, no one dared to speak to him like this. "Gentlemen, why don't the two of you settle this first?" The Buddhist emperor used his Buddhist voice and said with dignity, "I won't interfere." "Who are you to interrupt?" Jiangchen scolded angrily. "Old Baldy, get out of my way!" The fisherman's face was gloomy. He waved his premonition. It was like an afterimage of heaven and earth. It cut across the void and hit the Buddhist emperor directly. Boom! With a loud explosion, the Buddhist light on the Buddhist emperor's body dissipated. Even the 9-colored lotus under his feet cracked. At this moment, the Buddhist emperor's face changed drastically. However, before he could react, Jiangchen had already taken a step forward. His fists were like gold as he punched out. Boom! Boom! After two loud explosions, everyone saw the Buddhist halo on the back of the Buddhist emperor's head break. Even the Buddhist sect's most powerful technique, the Zhang's 6 golden body, was shattered. He was covered in blood and staggered. After looking at Jiangchen and the fisherman in horror, he turned around and ran. "This big fish, I've caught it!" the fisherman shouted. The fishing rod in his hand shook and the fishing line burst out like silk. Then, a large net appeared. It seemed to be able to wrap up everything and took the Buddhist emperor in. "Ever since I became an emperor, who dared to treat me like this? The two of you, don't go overboard!" the Buddhist emperor roared. His hands formed a Buddhist chant, and a golden palm suddenly appeared. A swastika mark appeared on his palm. It shattered the void and the large net. "What Buddhist emperor? In front of me, you're all made of paper!" Jiangchen had already gotten into the act of acting tough. It was as if he was the one fighting. With a loud roar, Jiangchen stretched out his hands and pierced them into the void. Then, with a sudden pull, he tore the golden palm apart. Even the swastika mark was torn into powder. Just after this, Jiangchen took a step forward and used the heavenly law's embodiment of earth. His giant foot stepped on the Buddhist emperor's head. "You've gone too far!" the Buddhist emperor roared. However, he was cursing in his heart. "Who said that the 6 realms are weak? How dare you deceive the honest people of Buddhism? Bang! At this moment, a muffled sound was heard. The Buddhist emperor's head shook. He was almost blown apart by Jiang Chen's kick. Fortunately, his physical body was extremely strong, and his cultivation was high. He managed to survive. Then, he retreated a long distance, and quickly formed a Buddhist seal. The Zhang's 6 golden body was reconstructed, and the Buddhist halo appeared behind him. Amitabha! Benefactors, why are you doing this? The Buddhist emperor asked. Why? Do I need a reason to kill you? Jiang Chen said angrily. The greater world wants to destroy the 6 realms. We are mortal enemies. Chapter 1029. As soon as he finished speaking, Jiang Chen and the fisherman attacked again. However, this time, the Buddhist emperor was clearly prepared. A lotus bloomed, and in an instant, he retreated thousands of miles away. Then, he stood there quietly, not saying a word, and did not continue to come over. Now you should tell me what you meant by those words just now, right? At this moment, the fisherman's face was very ugly as he stared at Jiang Chen. His eyes flickered, and the runes of the great Tao appeared. He wanted to see Jiang Chen's essence, and see Jiang Chen's appearance clearly. Is there really an emperor in the 6 realms that I don't know? After a few breaths, the fisherman was stunned. With his cultivation, he could not see Jiang Chen's appearance clearly. This made him very puzzled. Which emperor was this? His cultivation was so high. As the guardian of the 6 realms, why didn't you do anything when someone from the upper-class world came? Jiang Chen said in a deep voice. Since he had already acted tough to this extent, he might as well continue acting tough. Moreover, Jiang Chen liked this feeling of acting tough and being invincible. Wait! F***ck. However, before the fisherman could speak, the power in Jiang Chen's body began to decline. Obviously, when the emperor of the upper-class world left the 6 realms, this power would disappear. Fortunately, this power seemed to have a mind of its own. Before it disappeared, it brought Jiang Chen back to the back mountain of the 9 Skies court. Phew! That scared me to death! Jiang Chen heaved a sigh of relief. He was almost exposed. However, in the next moment, the fisherman appeared in front of him. It was obvious that the angler finally saw Jiang Chen's face clearly when his power was weakening. He even caught a glimpse of Jiang Chen's energy, and where he was. He chased after him. You! Aren't you too shameless? At this moment, the fisherman's face was very ugly. He stared at Jiang Chen and said, Do I have a grudge against you? How dare you speak ill of me in front of everyone? Well, acting tough felt good for a while and I didn't know how to stop myself, Jiang Chen said weakly. Without the support of that power, he felt guilty. Fortunately, the dangling fisher did not argue with Jiang Chen. Instead, his eyes fell on the sky-burying coffin. Good heavens! Her soul escaped, but her physical body is still there. The power in her body contains her will, and it's still protecting the 6 realms, the fisherman exclaimed. Brat, were you the one who released Huang Tian? It was an accident, Jiang Chen explained. I thought that this bone coffin was related to me. I didn't think that Huang Tian was buried inside. However, I feel like releasing Huang Tian wasn't wrong. At least her will is still there, protecting the 6 realms, Jiang Chen said. Hearing this, the fisherman frowned, as if thinking of something. A few breaths later, he shook his head and said, It's not certain whether it's a blessing or a curse. Senior, why did you kill the 3 heavens in the first place? Jiang Chen asked. The heavens are like a cover, sealing the path of the world. If we don't destroy the heavens and lift the cover, the path of the world will be cut off. The fisherman sighed. It's hard to say whether it was right or wrong to kill the 3 heavens. Some people think it was wrong, but others think it was right. It all depends on one's own view and understanding of the world. Jiang Chen nodded, although he didn't fully understand what she meant. Then he asked, Senior, why didn't you take action before? As the guardian of the 6 realms, shouldn't you protect the 6 realms? Do I need to take action against these little bastards? The fisherman said angrily. Don't think of the 6 realms as simple as you think. When the 5 realms were destroyed, did the experts of the 5 realms all die? If they didn't die, where do you think they are now? The God realm is the last root of the 6 realms. Will they watch the 6 realms be destroyed? Just wait. Sooner or later those old things will jump out. After saying that, the fisherman pointed at Jiang Chen and said angrily, Don't talk nonsense. Be careful, or I won't care about our old friendship and suppress you on the spot. Okay, I'll be careful when I show off next time, Jiang Chen said weakly. In the end, the fisherman left and promised Jiang Chen that he wouldn't tell anyone about this. At the same time, the group of creatures in the netherworld also settled down and didn't make a fuss about destroying the world of the living. This was because although there were emperors in the netherworld, they weren't very powerful. At least, they couldn't be compared to Jiang Chen. To be more precise, they couldn't compete with Huang Tian's strength. They were worried that if they took action now, they might be suppressed and destroyed. Therefore, they were waiting for the real experts of the netherworld to descend. At the same time, a group of people came from the outer realm. Each of them had a powerful aura, like the sun and the moon. They stood in the outer realm and stared at the 6 realms. Obviously, they also knew that there were guardians in the 6 realms, and there was also a mysterious top emperor. They didn't dare to act rashly, as if they were also waiting for the top emperor to descend. Just like that, the 3 forces didn't make a move for a while. Just like that, the 6 realms seemed to have calmed down. This kind of peace was unexpected, but for the people of the world, this kind of peace was rare. Perhaps this was the last period of peace after the arrival of the Golden Age. Time slowly passed, and the 3 forces didn't make any moves. During this period, Jiang Chen stayed in the back mountain of the 9 Skies Imperial Court and cultivated quietly. Days passed by, and a month later. On this day, Jiang Chen's cultivation broke through, from the heavenly God realm to the mysterious God realm. Moreover, his spirit body had shed a lot, and his spine seemed to have transformed into a real dragon. When he raised his hands and moved his feet, there seemed to be a dragon's roar coming from behind him. His ribs had also changed. Each of them was sparkling and translucent like crystals. Previously, the roses on the ribs had fused into a single flower. But now, the ribs were giving birth to fresh flowers. This time, it wasn't a rose, but a thorn flower. The flowers bloom and wilt differently? Jiang Chen whispered. He didn't know what the roses and thorn flowers were used for. He also wanted to ask Hong Yi, but now that the Cleaver sect had sealed the mountain, it was impossible to find Hong Yi. Moreover, Redcoat might not know about the rose flower and the thorn flower. Strange. Where's Old Nine? All of a sudden, Jiang Chen realized something. Old Nine had disappeared during this period of time. Now that he thought about it, Old Nine didn't seem to have returned after going to the Pingtian clan. Could it be that there was an accident? Or could it be that there was an accident in the 9 heavens? When he thought of this, Jiang Chen's expression became serious. He directly stood up, planning to go to the Pingtian clan to take a look. However, at this moment, the coffin lid was opened again. Big sister. You want it again? Jiang Chen's expression was strange. Just as he finished speaking, that force took control of his body. Then, like a kunpeng, he soared into the sky and arrived in outer space. At the same time, the 6 emperors in outer space stood side by side. Each of them had extremely powerful auras, clearly not ordinary emperors. Chapter 1030. It was not easy for the divine world of Jioxia to be peaceful for a short period of time, but it was broken today. In the outer region, 6 emperors from the great 1,000 worlds stood side by side, and the Buddha Emperor was among them. These 6 people were like kings, looking down at the divine world of Jioxia. Each of them looked calm, and their eyes were cold, as if there was no trace of emotion. Perhaps, in their eyes, the divine world of Jioxia was a burial ground, a dirty place, and the creatures here were like ants and maggots, unworthy of their eyes. However, when Jiang Qun appeared, the six people's expressions changed. Especially the Buddha Emperor, a trace of fear flashed in the depths of his eyes, and even the Buddha's light on his body could not help but jump. "Do you insist on coming here to die?" At this moment, Jiang Qun stood in the outer region, facing the six people alone, looking very calm. Of course, others could not see his appearance clearly, let alone his expression. And these six emperors from the great thousand world, at this moment, did not dare to move at all. They knew very well how powerful Jiang Qun was, and they knew that until now, they could not find out the details of Jiang Qun's background and the truth. They were very afraid and did not want to rashly start a war. However, several holy lands in the great thousand world had already ordered them to speed up their progress. In desperation, the six emperors could only come together. "Fellow Taoist, with your cultivation, why are you so obsessed with this? If you enter the great thousand world, your achievements will be limitless. Why do you have to stay here? This is a burial ground, and it is extremely dirty. What is there to be reluctant to leave and protect here?" The six emperors spoke one after another, and some even promised that as long as Jiang Qun no longer protected the divine world of Jiuxiao, he could enter the great thousand world, become a saint, and become an ancestor, and become a superior person. In this regard, Jiang Qun chuckled a few times and said, "I was born here. This place is a burial ground in your eyes, and it is dirty. But in my eyes this is my home, and it is sacred and inviolable. Fellow Taoist, why are you so stubborn? This burial ground will collapse sooner or later. Even if we don't do anything, it will collapse by itself." The Buddha sighed and said, "The thing buried here cannot be underestimated. Even I only know a little about its background. The reason we came to the burial ground is to eliminate him once and for all. Fellow Taoist, if you're willing to give in, just tell me what you want. The great wide world has everything. As long as you want it, the great wide world can give it to you." The six great sovereigns tried to persuade him again, but they were still wary of Jiang Qun and did not dare to make a move directly. Jiang Qun was getting better and better at acting tough. However, before he could finish his sentence, the energy in his body began to surge. Boom! In the next moment, under everyone's shocked gazes, Jiang Qun charged out. The ecliptic chi around him roared like a dragon. His fists and palms struck out like a ferocious tiger descending the mountain. They tore through the void and arrived right in front of the Buddha arch. "Why is it this old monk again?" The Buddha arch let out a strange cry. He had been beaten up by Jiang Qun before. He did not expect that even with six people here, Jiang Qun would still target him. Caught off guard, the Buddha arch was sent flying by Jiang Qun's palm strike. The Buddhist light on his body dissipated, and even the Buddhist halo on his head almost shattered. However, his physical body was extremely strong. The power of the Zhang's six golden body erupted. He formed a Buddhist chant with his hands, and a golden palm strike struck out. At the same time, the other five people also attacked. The outer realm seemed to have turned into a chaotic zone. In the eyes of the world, it was so gorgeous, as if a rare firework was being set off. However, more than 10 breaths later, under a series of explosions, the world saw Jiang Qun being sent flying. Blood splattered along the way, and the ecliptic chi on his body flickered. "He's injured? There are so many cultivators in the Yang world. Is he the only great sovereign who dares to fight against the great wide world? Sovereign, please come out of the mountain! Sovereign, please come out of the mountain!" At this moment, from all over the Yang world, heaven-shaking shouts sounded. They were asking for the Yang world's great sovereign to help. "Fellow cultivator, let me help you!" Right at this moment, from the east of the Yang world, a purple aura arrived. It was like the legendary purple aura from the east, and it also carried a terrifying domineering aura. "That's the Dongfang Imperial Clan's clan leader! An old tyrant!" Many people cried out in alarm. This person had appeared a long time ago. However, in the long years, this person gradually disappeared. Until now, not many people knew of his existence. However, those who knew of him knew how powerful this person was. The Dongfang imperial clan was a clan of tyrants, and this person was the great sovereign among the tyrants. Wherever his domineering aura passed, it was like the purple aura from the east, piercing through the sky and suppressing an area. The matters of the 6 realms are not for your great wide world to interfere. A few breaths later, at the intersection of yin and yang, 3 great sovereigns roared. They stepped on the void and burst forth with yin energy. It was like the strongest yin energy in the great Tao. The 3 of them worked together and directly rushed out. Black mist surged on their bodies, and they were extremely powerful. Since we've started fighting, there's no way out. Kill! Today, cleanse the burial ground. Return this world to its former glory. The 6 great sovereigns from the great wide world roared. At this moment, they were truly furious. In an instant, a battle erupted in the outer realms again. Within the gorgeous light, great sovereign blood unceasingly dripped down. A drop of great sovereign blood fell like a brilliant sun. It crossed the starry sky and illuminated the 10,000 realms. Even at the end of the endless starry sky, at the place belonging to the great wide world, the living beings there could see the burning great sovereign blood in the 6 realms. I've been invincible since ancient times. I'm still invincible in this era. How dare a mere great wide world offend my 6 realms? Jiangchen shouted at the top of his voice. In any case, he didn't have to do anything. He just had to act cool. As the saying goes, if I'm invincible, you can do whatever you want. However, what made Jiangchen feel helpless was that although Huang Tian's strength was indeed terrifying, his opponents were also not ordinary people. Furthermore, they had the advantage in terms of numbers. One had to know that in a battle between great sovereigns, even one more person would affect the situation of the battle. After more than 10 breaths, Jiangchen was still roaring, but his body could not hold on any longer. He was targeted by 3 great sovereigns. His physical body was cracked and even the top of his head was almost torn apart. However, the 3 of them also paid a great price for this. One of them had his physical body torn apart by Jiangchen. His soul was almost shattered by Jiangchen's palm. Another one had his limbs cut off. At this moment, he was hiding at the side and rebuilding his physical body. The last one was even more miserable. His head was shattered by Jiangchen's punch. His soul was dim, and he almost died on the spot. However, as great sovereigns, their recovery ability was astonishing. They absorbed the power of the Great Path and directly healed their injuries. In just a few breaths, their injuries were healed. In the eternal universe, only I will not fall. Suddenly, an extremely arrogant voice came from below. Following it, a stalwart man with wisps of the firmament aura flew into the distance like a primordial blue dragon. F***CK! Jiangchen suddenly cursed. Especially when he saw the man's appearance, his face turned green. Chapter 1031. Jiangchen was dumbfounded, but he instantly figured out the identity of this person. This was because this newly arrived emperor looked exactly like Jiangchen, and the aura he exuded was the same as the aura he had encountered on Tiger Head Mountain. Needless to say, this emperor's identity was Jiangchen's other life, Tianzang. However, Jiangchen was very confused. What happened to Tianzang in his previous life? Did he become an emperor? Moreover, his original body was still here. What was up with this physical body of his? Was he psychic? But even if he was psychic, wasn't his cultivation level too high? What's going on? Wasn't Tianzang's physical body in Muyuda's hands? Jiangchen was confused. Back then, many things had been squeezed together, and Jiangchen had forgotten to ask Muyuda about Tianzang. Now Muyuda was gone, but Tianzang's physical body had appeared. Moreover, it was an emperor. What the F***CK? Are you sure? I, the degeneration, am here. Reverse water dissipation. At this moment, Tianzang's physical body stood upright in outer space. At first glance, he really did have the demeanor of an emperor. But why didn't these words sound like that? Especially the words, degeneration. What was going on? What did that mean? At this moment, Jiang Chen suddenly had a bad feeling. Degeneration? Fellow cultivator. Which family are you from? At this moment, the emperors around them were a little confused. They stared blankly at Tianzong. They didn't know him at all. Some of them even searched through the past and present eras, but they couldn't remember the emperor of the degeneration. There are great virtues in this world, and I am the ancestor of the degeneration. Tianzong raised his eyebrows and pointed at the emperors of the great thousand world. He said arrogantly, "Retreat! Otherwise die!" The faces of the 6 emperors from the great thousand world darkened when they heard this. What the hell are you doing? Although you're the emperor, the aura you're emitting is the weakest among everyone present, alright? You haven't figured out the situation yet. Jiang Chen was also dumbfounded for a long time, but before he could ask a few questions, the power in his body began to surge again. Boom! In the next moment, this place seemed to have exploded as the group of emperors attacked again. An earth-shattering explosion resounded throughout the entire 9th heaven divine world. Even the great thousand worlds far away from here could hear the fluctuations of the battle here. And this battle lasted for half a day. Half a day later, both sides retreated. No one died in battle, but both sides suffered heavy injuries. The only one who was unscathed was Jiang Chen. During this half a day, Jiang Chen did not do anything. He allowed the energy in his body to rampage. He only cared about acting tough. It was hard to believe that the power in Jiang Chen's body was too terrifying. After half a day, Jiang Chen had crippled 4 monarchs. Even the Buddha Thearka's corporeal body had been shattered by Jiang Chen twice. Jiang Chen was very puzzled. How terrifying was Huang Tian's power? At this moment, the group of people were divided into 3 sides. The 6 emperors of the great thousand worlds stood on one side. Jiang Chen, Tianzong, and the emperor of the Dongfang imperial clan stood together. The 3 emperors from the underworld stood on the other side. The 3 sides formed a triangle and faced each other. For a moment, no one made a move. After more than 10 breaths, the Buddha-Dharch opened his mouth and said, "Why don't we sit down and talk? Only the weak will negotiate. The true experts will directly make a move," Jiang Chen said in a serious voice. He was very confident. However, just as he finished speaking, he felt that the power in his body seemed to have weakened a little. This time, Jiang Chen's confidence was not enough. He coughed a few times and said, "Since you want to talk, then let's talk. I am not an unreasonable person. Talk about what? Why would the Wu degeneration be afraid of you? Let's fight again." Tianzong let out a long roar. His aura was boundless. However, half of his body had been shattered. Right now, his body was still being reconstructed. Jiang Chen saw this and felt pain in his heart. That was his body. What kind of talk? Your great thousand world wants to destroy our 6 realms, and now you want to talk with us? How? The emperor of the Dongfang imperial clan said coldly. Could it be that you want us to surrender? Once those words were said, the expressions of the 6 emperors of the great thousand world turned ugly. To be honest, with the battle today having reached this point, they were powerless to do anything. They did not expect that there would be so many emperors in the 6 realms. Not only were they fierce, they were also fearless. The territory of the great thousand world is vast and boundless, the Buddha-Dharch said. The distance between the great thousand world and the 6 realms is endless. Even if the emperors come here, it will take a very long time. However, when the time is right, the emperors of the great thousand world will come here. At that time, it will not be just the 6 of us. It might be 16, or it might be 60, the Buddha-Dharch said. At that time, the 6 realms will still be destroyed. Then there's nothing to talk about, the emperor of the Dongfang imperial clan said coldly. Since there's nothing to talk about, let's fight. People of the Wu degeneration do not fear a battle, Tianzong said sternly. Suddenly, he patted Jiang Chen's shoulder and said jokingly, Fellow Taoist, you look quite familiar. Jiangchen was stunned. He saw the strange light in Tian Sung's eyes. He felt that he had seen it somewhere before. It was very familiar. After a few breaths of time, Jiangchen was stunned. He stared at Tian Sung's eyes and cried out in surprise. Mu Yud? Oh? Fellow Taoist knows me? Tian Sung was surprised. He felt weak in his heart. He did not know that the person in front of him who was enveloped by the aura of the ecliptic path was Jiangchen. However, Jiangchen knew the identity of the person in front of him. Mother *Ker, Tian Sung's body was not sentient. Instead, it was controlled by Mu Yud using some secret technique. As for where the cultivation of this body came from, Jiangchen could not figure it out. However, Jiangchen was now certain that the person standing in front of him was Mu Yud. Furthermore, this guy kept calling himself the Wu Degeneration. This made Jiangchen even more certain that this person was definitely Mu Yud. Everyone, we are all emperors. If we really have to fight to the death, how can the 6 realms withstand our attacks? Even the shockwaves from our battle will destroy the 6 realms. The Buddha said. Why don't we let the later generations do it? We can just watch from the side and act as witnesses. What do you think? Oh? What do you mean? Jiangchen did not want to bother with Mu Yud for now. He looked at the Buddha and asked. Let's hear it. It's very simple. Cultivators of the God Darch level cannot fight. Cultivators below the God Darch level can fight. When the time comes, life and death will be determined. What do you all think? The Buddha suggested. What's the point of that? The Dongfang Imperial Clan's monarch asked. In the end, we still have to fight. I feel like an old baldy like you is spouting nonsense. Chapter 1032. What the Dongfang Imperial Clan's monarch said was correct. Regardless of how they fought earlier, in the end, only the monarchs would be able to resolve this chaos. If that was the case, then what the Buddha Emperor had said was indeed nonsense. However, what he said next caused the crowd to grow silent. They even had no choice but to carefully consider it. Everyone, you should all know about the Great Thousand Realms. Ask yourselves, when the experts of our Great Thousand Realms descend, will the 6 realms be able to stop them? Asked the Buddha Emperor. Once those words were spoken, the crowd grew silent. They did not know what to say. Although they dared to come out and fight, it did not mean that the 6 realms would be able to stop the Great Thousand Realms. In reality, everyone knew that the 6 realms were no match for the Great Thousand Realms. What was the Great Thousand Realms? It was a collective name of several thousand or even several tens of thousands of realms. Every realm had an overlord, but there were several thousand or even several tens of thousands of overlords. In fact, there were even supreme existences that surpassed the overlords. As for the 6 realms, although they were very deep, they were only so big. At that time, if the 2 sides were to truly fight, the 6 realms would definitely be no match for the Great Thousand Realms. Actually, we all understand, it's just that, we truly do not wish to lose our lives like this. The Dongfang Imperial Clan's monarch sighed. He felt powerless. Right now, we can give you all a chance, said the Buddha Emperor. Buddha is merciful. From now on, the overlord-level cultivators are not allowed to fight. The younger generation will fight. If any of the younger generation of the 6 realms is able to defeat the geniuses of our Great Thousand Realms, then when the experts of our Great Thousand Realms descend, I can guarantee that your family's bloodline will continue to be passed on, said the Buddha Emperor. Once those words were spoken, the expressions of the crowd immediately became strange. A trace of surprise and joy flashed through their eyes. The reason for that was because they all knew that once the 6 realms were to be destroyed, nothing would exist anymore. The sects, powers, clans, and even their bloodlines and inheritances that they had painstakingly established would all be destroyed. How many eras, how many days and nights of bitter cultivation had they gone through? How many dead ends had they walked? How many enemies had they killed to create their glory? Who would be willing to lose that? Without mentioning their own inheritances, who would be cold and heartless? They all had their own descendants, their bloodlines were still continuing to be passed on. Even if the 6 realms were to be destroyed, they would still want to protect their descendants. That was love. Now, the Buddha Thyarka's words had brought hope to the 6 realms. In a battle between peers, only the winner could live. Of course, we martial emperors are destined to fight, but the battlefield will not be here, the Buddha Tharch said. What do you think? If we fight here, the entire 6 realms will collapse. At that time, your descendants and inheritances will all be implicated. They will be reduced to ashes in the aftermath of our battle and vanish into thin air. When everyone heard this, they secretly nodded. However, they still felt bitter, helpless, and even more aggrieved. He even felt a sense of shame and humiliation in his heart. They all knew that if they agreed now, it would be equivalent to compromising with the great, wide world. How can we believe your words? The Dongfang Imperial Clan's overlord said coldly. After all the overlords of the great 1,000 realms have arrived, we do not even have the right to speak. If you go back on your words, what can we do? In my opinion, we should kill as many as we can right now, the underworld overlord said with a deep voice. Old Baldy, we do not believe your words. However, right at this moment, a purple light rushed over from the distance. A man with a crown on his head appeared in a few breaths of time. Following his appearance, the atmosphere became a bit strange. It was even a bit oppressive. The reason for that was because this person was the master of the world's edge, Xi Xiao. We are powerless. However, we should seek a path of survival for our descendants. Xi Xiao sighed. Let's do as you say. Xi Xiao. What if they go back on their words? The Dongfang Imperial Clan's overlord said with a deep voice. Although you are the master of the world's edge, this matter concerns the entire 6 realms. You alone cannot represent the entire 6 realms. Hearing that, Xi Xiao smiled bitterly. He turned around to look at the Dongfang Imperial Clan's overlord and asked, In that case, do you have a better idea? Do you really want the bloodline of the 6 realms to end? Once those words were said, the Dongfang Imperial Clan's overlord's expression changed. Then he grew silent. Actually, in the end, we from the great 1,000 realms came to the 6 realms to search for one thing, the Buddha Emperor said. However, that thing is the foundation of your 6 realms. It is impossible for your 6 realms to hand it over. That is why such a battle occurred. If the 6 realms were willing to hand it over, there would be no need for us to fight. Once we obtain it, we will leave. However, the Buddha Emperor had also said that what they wanted was the foundation of the 6 realms. If that thing was gone, the 6 realms would also be gone. This was equivalent to the destruction of the 6 realms. That thing, you all must obtain it with your own abilities, Xi Xiao said with a deep voice. Although we have compromised, we will not surrender. As people of the 6 realms, even if we die, we must protect that thing. Thus, even though we know that there will be a battle to the death, it is best to do as I say, the Buddha Emperor said with a smile. From today onwards we will do as you say. Xi Xiao sighed. He looked to Jiang Chen and the others. As overlords, do you all have any objections? Jiang Chen had been thinking about it. According to his thoughts, he naturally could not agree. However, he also understood that the great 1,000 world was too powerful. When the emperors descended, the 6 realms would not be able to stop them. Now, the only thing he could do was to protect the people around him. If one person wins, they can live? What if they win many times? Can they let the designated person live? Jiang Chen asked. Of course, one victory is one life, the Buddha Emperor said. If you can win 100 battles, then you can save 100 people. What if someone kills all the geniuses from the great 1,000 world? Jiang Chen asked. How many people are killed counts. The great 1,000 world lacks everything except geniuses. Another overlord raised his eyebrows and said, What's more, the geniuses of the 6 realms are not on the same level in the eyes of the geniuses of the great 1,000 world. Is that so? Then, we can try, Jiang Chen said softly. Then, he nodded and said, I agree too. What does it have to do with another world? If the Great Thousand World is so powerful, they can attack the Netherworld. We have nothing to fear. Humph. The Yang realm has indeed declined. They actually compromised. The three overlords from the Netherworld mocked. Then, the three of them directly left. Then, the overlords of Zishao and Dongfang Imperial clan also left. As for the 6 overlords from the Great Thousand World, they also temporarily withdrew from the 6 realms and came to the outer realms. At this moment, only Jiangchun was still standing there. His body was out of control. The power in his body was still rioting, as if he was about to attack. Chapter 1033. Everyone had come to an agreement to leave, but Jiangchun could not. The energy in his body was extremely violent, and he was controlling his body to charge at the Buddha, the Arch, and the others. Hey! Big sister! I said okay? We've already agreed! Jiangchun felt bitter. His body was out of his control. Most importantly, his body had rushed out uncontrollably, and when he turned his head to look, good heavens, Tian Tsung was following him. Get the F***ck out of here! Jiangchun was furious. Mu Yud, that old B****starred, had used some unknown method to control Tian Tsung's body to fight. It would be fine if he won, but what if he lost? Tian Tsung's body would be gone. People with the surname Wudu are brave and good at fighting, and they are never afraid to fight. Fellow cultivator, let me help you, Tian Tsung said righteously. Little did he know that the person standing in front of him was Jiangchun. Jiangchun was so angry that he almost exploded. He was cursing Mu Yud's ancestors in his heart. Fellow cultivator! What are you? At the same time, the Buddha Dharch looked at Jiangchun with a strange expression and said hurriedly, We've already discussed this, you. Don't tell me you still want to fight? Bang! Just as he finished speaking, Jiangchun suddenly sped up and punched the Buddha Dharch in the face. This punch extinguished the Buddha halo above the Buddha Thearka's head. His entire face was swollen, and his head was almost cracked. Why is it me again? The Buddha Dharch was furious. His entire body shone with golden light, and he used his Zhang's 6 golden body to retreat. At the same time, the other 5 emperors were also shocked. Why did the emperors of the 6 realms not keep their promises? One had to know that an emperor's words were equivalent to a decree, a holy word. Even if he wanted to go back on his word, he shouldn't be so obvious. Fellow cultivator, you've gone too far. Stop! Do you really want to see the people of the 6 realms die? The other emperors shouted angrily, but they saw Jiangchun's fist coming towards them. This time, the emperors could not take it anymore. Boom! In the blink of an eye, another great battle broke out. And this time, Jiangchun and Tian Tsung were fighting against the 6 great emperors of the vast 1,000 domains. This king doesn't believe your words. Can the 6 of you represent the Great Thousand World? Jiangchun rebuked angrily, but he was helpless. He couldn't control himself. People of the Wuda generation have never feared a battle. Although Tian Tsung's voice was very loud, he had been following Jiangchun from the beginning to the end, occasionally making a move in the dark. Clearly, Mu Yuda was also afraid that he would damage Tian Tsung's body. I have already made myself very clear. The greater Kiliakosm will not go back on our word. The Buddha Thearka's face darkened. He had been hit by Jiangchun the most. His divine ring had even cracked a few times. He was very depressed. Why was Jiangchun chasing after him and hitting him? Could it be because he was a monk? Baldy? Fellow cultivator, you are really fierce. May I ask which sect are you from? Tian Tsung hid behind Jiangchun, secretly making a move while trying to get closer to Jiangchun. Jiangchun was about to explode. He wanted to tell Tian Tsung that he was Jiangchun. However, there were so many people here, and there were so many people watching. Jiangchun did not dare to reveal his identity. Fellow cultivator, there is no need to continue fighting like this. The words of the emperors are sacred, not to mention such a big promise. If they go back on their word, their Tao fruits will also be affected, Tian Tsung said. I think, let's forget it. Let's retreat. Jiangqun was very happy when he heard this. Good fellow, you are finally leaving? Hurry up and protect my body. However, after saying this, Tianzang suddenly made a move and punched the Buddha arch in the face. Even if I am a Buddhist, I will still start a massacre today. This time, the Buddha arch was completely enraged. What are you doing? You want me to beat you up alone? Do you think I am easy to bully? At this moment, the Buddha Thearka's body emitted an infinite amount of Buddhist light. His hands formed a Buddhist seal, and Buddhist mantras appeared around him. Then, he struck out with his palm. The palm print was like a golden river, rolling in the void. It was as if it had crossed the river of time. Then, the river fell, and Jiangqun and Tianzang were both sucked in. Old Baldy! You are courting death! Jiangqun was furious. He was fine, but with Huang Tian's power, he was invincible. However, he saw a crack on Tianzang's body. What the F***ck? How could he tolerate this? However, it seemed that Huang Tian had used up all his power, and Jiangqun felt weak. Then, this force brought Jiangqun into the void. In a few seconds, it concealed its aura and returned to the back mountain of the Nine Skies court. Just like that, Jiangqun watched as Tianzang's body was swept away by the golden river and disappeared. My body! Jiangqun stood at the back mountain, and his face darkened. Fortunately, he saw that Tianzang had escaped. After cursing a few times, he disappeared into the void as well. Mu Yud! Where are you? I am going to kill you! Jiangqun was furious. He immediately ordered the people of the Nine Skies court to search for Mu Yud's whereabouts. Fellow cultivator, if you dare to attack again, don't blame me for being merciless. When the six realms are in a terrible situation, don't blame us. The Buddha arch roared. His face was covered in bruises, and he was almost traumatized by the beating. This Baldy is really pitiful, Jiangqun mumbled. He did not know why Huang Tian's power was directed at the Buddha arch. Could it be that Huang Tian had a grudge against the Buddhists? Or was it that the Buddha Thearka's halo was too bright? Everything is settled. Now, it's time to think for myself and the people around me. After a few breaths, Jiangqun calmed down and frowned. In fact, everyone knew that if nothing unexpected happened, the destruction of the six realms was inevitable. After all, the greater world was too powerful. One victory, one life. Jiangqun whispered. Looks like I have to win a few more battles. With that, Jiangqun sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate. He knew very well that without enough strength, it would be difficult to fight against the geniuses of the greater world. With his current cultivation level, it would be difficult for him to establish a foothold. 3 days later, in the outer realm, a path appeared out of thin air. Then, living beings walked out of the path and entered the six realms. These people were all from the greater world. Their cultivation levels were below the emperor level. Moreover, they were all outstanding and high-spirited. At first glance, one could tell that they were the cream of the crop. In just half a day, hundreds of thousands of living beings from the greater world had entered the Nine Skies divine realm, and were scattered everywhere. Everyone, the group of emperors from the great thousand world will descend in a month's time. This 1 month's time is the time for you to fight for a chance to survive. The Buddha Emperor said from outside the domain. Whether or not you can survive will depend on your own strength. Chapter 1034. The creatures of the upper-class world continued to enter the nine heavens divine realm and scatter everywhere. Their purpose here was not only to gain experience, but also to seize the heavenly treasures in the nine heavens divine realm. In their eyes, the nine heavens divine realm was just a place to gain experience. As for the cultivators of the nine heavens divine realm, to them, they were just whetstones. And within a day after the creatures of the upper-class world entered the nine heavens divine realm in large numbers, all the top sects and families sent out experts to challenge these geniuses from the upper-class world. After all, as long as they defeated them, they could live. For many people, in order to protect their lives, in order to survive, the only way now was to challenge those creatures from the upper-class world. However, the reality was quite cruel. In just one day, many people had died in the 9 heavens divine realm. From the true gods to the master gods, the number of deaths had already exceeded 1,000. The cultivators of the upper-class world are too strong, their combat strength is formidable. How can we fight like this? We can't win at all. For a moment, many people sighed. They had clearly seen the hope of survival, but in the end, it was still despair. Some people even began to doubt themselves. Could it be that they were really too weak? However, this one-sided situation was broken the next day. On this day, someone saw a beam of light shoot up into the sky from the barren state. From the beam of light, a youth walked out. Then, there was a legend about him in the barren state. Someone said that he saw the youth fight alone against more than a dozen geniuses from the upper-class world. Not only did he win, but he also won completely. There were also people who said that the youth's background was not small, and he seemed to be from the Eternal City. In just one day, more and more rumors about this youth appeared. There were even some top families and sects who sent people to look for this youth, wanting to trap him and obtain some survival spots from him. One had to know that a victory could allow one person to live, and this youth had defeated more than a dozen geniuses from the upper-class world. There were more than a dozen spots in his hands that could survive. Moreover, these 10+ spots were undoubtedly extremely precious to many people. However, after 3 days, so many people sent out by so many forces could not find this youth. This made many people puzzled. Could it be that this youth had already died in battle? This little guy is not bad. He already has 17 points. In the outer realm, there was a huge and tall stone tablet in front of the Buddha Arch and the others. There were names and portraits on the stone tablet. Below each name and portrait was a string of numbers. As long as the creatures of the 9th heaven divine realm won a match, their names and portraits would appear on the stone tablet, and their scores would be recorded. As long as there was even a fraction of it, when the 6 realms were destroyed in the future, this person would be able to survive. One had to admit that the Buddha Arch and the others were quite trustworthy. They had special divine abilities to establish a stone tablet and keep their promises. At this moment, the Buddha Arch and the others looked at the top of the stone tablet. There was a portrait of a person there. According to their divine senses, this person seemed to have no surname, and was only named Chang'e. If this person is willing to join the Great Thousand World, we can nurture him well, one of the emperors said. But, looking at him, I don't think he'll agree. The creatures of the 6 realms are all stubborn. They know they will die, but they refuse to surrender. Another emperor joked. Of course, if they're willing to hand over that thing, why do we have to destroy the 6 realms? They can all live. If that thing is taken away by us, we don't have to do anything. The 6 realms will be destroyed. The Buddha Arch sighed. After all, that thing is the foundation of the 6 realms. Without the foundation, the 6 realms will collapse. At the same time, in the neighboring college, on this day, a young man suddenly appeared in the college. After he arrived at the college, he directly found Yen Chang'e's spiritual body. Then, under the shocked gazes of the entire neighboring college, the young man suppressed the body and took it away. Who is that? Look at him, he looks like that young man from the barren state. I heard that when he fought with the cultivators of the Great Thousand World, he called himself Chang'e. You're really capable. After becoming spiritual, you ascended to become a god. I was almost killed by you. At this moment, on a mountain 3,000 miles away from the neighboring college, a seemingly honest young man was staring at Yen Chang'e's body in front of him and cursing. Then, without waiting for the body to speak, the young man formed a seal with both hands and directly imprinted it on the young man's body. Then, the two turned into a rain of light and intertwined in the air. Half a day later, the young man appeared again. His aura soared, and a terrifying aura leaked out as he raised his hand. It's been a long time, Jiushi Divine Realm, the young man said softly. His eyes looked into the distance, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly with a trace of unruliness and madness. Then, he opened his hands as if he wanted to embrace the world. He even shouted, "I'm Chang'an I Nianchanga! Oh? Is Nianchanga here?" At the same time, in the back mountain of the Jiuxiao imperial court, Jiangchen also heard about the deeds of the young man from the barren state. When he learned that the other party called himself Chang'e, he guessed the other party's identity. Soon, Jiangchen learned that Nianchanga had found his body and should have fused with it. "Go and find out where he is now." Jiangchen sent people to look for Nianchanga. He also began to move and left the Jiuxiao imperial court. On the same day, in the barren state, another beam of light shot into the sky. This time, many people saw an ethereal woman walk out of the beam of light. She was like a fairy, untainted by the mortal world and untainted by the spring. After walking out of the beam of light, there was a trace of emptiness and confusion in her eyes, and then she disappeared. Some people followed her, and soon saw geniuses from the great thousand world meeting her. A battle inevitably broke out between the two sides. In the end, the news spread that the woman was injured, but she did not die. She escaped covered in blood. "I say, that woman's appearance. Why does she look so similar to the Yuetian from 3,000 years ago? Now that you mention it, it's true." At this moment, Jiangchen came to the vicinity of the adjacent academy and was inquiring about Nianchanga's whereabouts. At the same time, he also learned about the woman. At this moment, Jiangchen's expression froze. After calculating the time, he thought to himself that it was about time for the Yuetian to ascend. Then, was the woman who appeared in the barren state really the Yuetian? Whether it was or not, at this moment, Jiangchen was a little anxious. He once again ordered the experts of the Jiuxiao imperial court to take action and find the whereabouts of the woman. "Something big has happened. The Chang'an plain has split open. It seems that an ancient relic has appeared." Suddenly, a piece of news swept through the entire Jiuxiu divine realm. Even the master gods and even the ultimate gods who were in seclusion could not sit still after hearing the news. They all came out of seclusion and headed to the Chang'an plain. Chapter 1035. The Chang'an plain had existed since ancient times. It was said that there was an ancient relic under the plain that contained amazing treasures. It was said that anyone who obtained the treasures would be able to control the changes in the ninth heaven. Some people speculated that there was something hidden under the Chang'an plain that could compete with the emperors. However, for many generations, no one had opened the ancient relic under the Chang'an plain. No one had even found it. Some emperors had secretly gone to investigate, but to no avail. Who would have thought that the Chang'an plain would split open and the ancient relic would appear? It was like a bolt of lightning. Not only did it alarm the living beings of the ninth heaven, but it also alarmed the living beings of the great thousand world and the netherworld. On this day, all the heroes gathered in the middle of the Chang'an plain in front of the ancient relic. A group of living beings who are about to perish still have the time to care about the treasures in the ancient relic? A month later, when the emperors of the great thousand world arrive, it will be the day of the burial ground's destruction. Instead of enjoying the last days of your lives, you come out to fight for the treasures? What a joke! When Jiangchen arrived, he saw tens of thousands of living beings from the great thousand world. Some of them were standing alone, some were in groups of 3 to 5, and some were in dozens. These people had different cultivation levels. The lowest was a real god, and the highest was a divine venerable. Their eyes and expressions were full of confidence and arrogance. When they looked at the living beings of the ninth heaven, they were full of contempt and disdain. There were many living beings of the ninth heaven around them, but most of them were far away and did not dare to come close. This was because someone had come close and was killed by the living beings of the great thousand world. Moreover, it was killed by someone of the same cultivation level. However, there were exceptions to everything. Not all the living beings of the divine world had retreated far away. A few of them stood outside the ancient relic, standing in the innermost circle. "Boy, this is not a place for you to come. The divine world is about to be destroyed, And you still have the mood to come here and fight for the treasures? Suddenly, a contemptuous voice came from the vicinity of the ancient relic. Everyone looked over and saw a white-robed young man holding a folding fan. He had a smile on his face and was holding a small booklet in his hand. Facing the living beings of the great thousand world, he did not panic at all. Furthermore, he seemed to be seriously flipping through the booklet, as if he was searching for something. It wasn't until a few breaths later that the youth's eyes lit up. After looking at the contents of the booklet, his expression became serious, and his eyes shined brightly. He glanced around and shouted, "When heroes get along, they are all ordinary people. And I am the crane in the flock, standing at the top, looking down." What does that mean? Many people were stunned. This young man had been reading the booklet for half a day just to find this sentence? I can understand the gist of it. He seemed to be acting tough. They called us ordinary people. Oh? Does this kid not want to live anymore? A few breaths later, someone with literary talent translated. For a moment, the living beings of the great thousand world were enraged. Ever since they entered the divine realm, no one could stop them. Their battle records were glorious. Even the cultivators of the older generation in the divine realm could not withstand a single blow from them. In their eyes, the divine realm was nothing more than that. As time passed, this gave rise to arrogance in their hearts, and made them even more arrogant. But now, there was actually a seemingly honest young man who dared to humiliate them in front of so many people. How could they tolerate this? Seeing that you're just a chief god, we won't bother to bully you. Get lost! An upper-ranked chief god rebuked angrily. The divine realm is almost gone. Hurry up and find a good place to choose your grave from now on. Who said I'm a chief god? The young man was stunned, seemingly very puzzled. He pointed at himself and asked, Do I look like a chief god like this? Do you think we're blind? If you're not a chief god, then what are you? Someone rebuked angrily. However, the young man chuckled when he heard that and did not say anything else. Boom! Suddenly, an explosion came from the periphery of the ancient relic. This explosion attracted everyone's attention at once. Everyone turned around and saw a tall and straight young man with a jade-like face walking towards the inner area of the ancient ruins. Dressed in white, he was handsome and elegant, and his handsome features made one think of a saying. Strangers are like jade, young master is unparalleled in the world. Tian Chen! Jiang Chen! At this moment, exclamations came from all around, and everyone's eyes fell on the handsome young man. This person was none other than Jiang Chen. He had wanted to enter the inner area just now, but he was stopped by a heavenly god from the greater thousand world. The result, of course, went without saying. Jiang Chen threw a punch and sent the other party flying right away. Once upon a time, he was a supreme god. Someone heaved a long sigh. It's just a shame that in this prosperous age, what's a supreme god worth? Sigh. If he hadn't died back then, perhaps he'd already be a godly venerable now? Accompanied by the noise around, Jiang Chen walked step by step to the inner area with a smile on his face. Then, he came in front of the young man holding a folding fan and asked with a smile, When did you come? A few days ago. The young man smiled. His expression was a little dull, and he always gave people the feeling of an honest person. However, Jiang Chen knew very well that the guy in front of him was a black-bellied person. This person was none other than Yan Chang'e, who had just entered the divine realm from Eternal City. Long time no see. Long time no see. At this moment, Jiang Chen and Yan Chang'e hugged. Something big happened in the divine realm. I'll tell you in detail later, Jiang Chen said. I know. Yan Chang'e smiled and said, It's not a big deal, just because I'm back. Buzz. As soon as he finished speaking, a terrifying aura suddenly erupted from Yan Chang'e's body. The aura rushed to the sky and tore the clouds apart as if a king was born. At this moment, the person who had previously said that Yan Chang'e was a master god was even more shocked. This was because the aura that Nyen Chang'e displayed at this moment had reached the level of a high-level godly venerable. Oh? This is your peak state? Jiangchen was stunned. He did not expect Nyen Chang'e to be so powerful in his peak state. Not at all. Nyen Chang'e shook his head and pointed to the stone door not far away. He said, "Behind that stone door is the Chang'an ruins, and my peak state is there." Chang'an ruins? Chang'an Chang'e? Jiangchen narrowed his eyes and then secretly asked, "Don't tell me that this Chang'an ruins was set up by you. Whether the world is in chaos or not, I, Chang'an, have the final say. As for how it's going to be, open the ruins and the world will be in chaos." Nyen Chang'e chuckled and looked at the creatures from the great wide world around him. He whispered, "Friends from afar, I should give some greeting gifts." Chapter 1036. Obviously, Nyen Chang'e was the one who opened the Chang'an ruins. After returning to the divine realm, he first merged with his body, then came to the Chang'an plains to open the ruins. Furthermore, he must have a motive for causing such a huge commotion this time. With so many people, even if the ruins are yours, it will be very difficult for you to get the things in the ruins, right? Jiangchen asked. Oh, is it difficult? Nyen Chang'e chuckled and teased. It's not difficult for me, but you. Why are you only a Xian god? Jiangchen blushed and muttered. You can't judge me with the eyes of ordinary people. What are you two whispering about over there? Are you looking down on the people of the great thousand world? At this moment, a god shouted angrily. Moreover, he took a step forward and pushed his palm forward. The palm print was like a purple mountain, suppressing Jiangchen. Nyen Chang'e was a divine master, so he naturally did not dare to make a move. However, Jiangchen, a Xian god, was like an ant in his eyes. Do you really think I'm an ant? Jiangchen's eyes flashed, and two thunderbolts burst out from his eyes. Boom! With an explosion, a thunderbolt shattered the opponent's palm print, followed by another thunderbolt that directly pierced through the god's protective divine power. In the end, the god's chest was pierced, and as he retreated, his entire body exploded. Xian god! At this moment, the surrounding people exclaimed. They could not believe that a Xian god had such combat strength. One had to know that in their eyes, the cultivators of the great thousand world were generally stronger than those of the divine realm. Even in a battle of the same realm, the cultivators of the great thousand world could basically suppress the cultivators of the six realms. Now, this was not the same realm, but a cultivator of the six realms, with the power of a lower realm, shattered the body of a god from the great thousand world. You have some skills, let me try! At this moment, another person rushed over. He had the cultivation of a superior god. Before he even arrived, a gust of wind howled. Within the raging winds there were icicles and chains that danced in the wind like dragon bones. All right. How dare you underestimate the cultivators of the great thousand world? Brat, you're dead! All around, many people were clapping and cheering. Perhaps in their eyes, Jiangchen was already a dead man. I'm dead? Heh! Jiangchen chuckled. With a shake of his body, the emperor's vine extended from his back. The purple gold vines were like giant chains that crossed the void. As they swayed, they directly extinguished the wind. Then, the vines turned into purple gold swords and pierced through the air. Before that person could react, the swords pierced through his body. Furthermore, a vine that was as sharp as a needle actually pierced through that person's forehead in front of so many people, directly killing him. How dare you! Brat! Do you want to die? At this moment, angry shouts could be heard from all around. There were even cultivators of the over-god level who locked onto Jiangchen with their divine thoughts. In response, Jiangchen shrugged nonchalantly and said, What's wrong? Have you lost your manners? Did the emperors of the extraterritorial realm allow you to mess around like this? Do not fight those two levels above you. At this moment, the Buddha Thearka's voice came from the extraterritorial realm. This was not only a warning to the cultivators of the great thousand world, but also to the experts of the deity realm. As the Buddha Thearka's voice fell, the divine thoughts of the over-gods that enveloped Jiangqin instantly disappeared. However, at the same time, a few titled deities walked over. Do not fight those 2 levels above you? Above the mysterious god was the honorable god, and above the honorable god was the titled deity. If one's cultivation did not exceed the titled deities, it did not count as crossing 2 levels. Cough, cough. I guess this group of people is dead. Sigh, they came too late, and the Red Lotus Venerable and the others are also dead. They did not know that Jiangqin had killed a titled deity before. In the distance, some people of the deity realm had strange expressions. They all knew how terrifying Jiangqin's combat power was. However, they did not say a word. After all, no matter whether they had a grudge against Jiangqin or not, when facing the creatures of the Great Thousand World, they and Jiangqin were on the same side. How could they watch their own people suffer losses? Win a battle, and you'll live. Today. Do I have to save a lot of people? Jiangqin thought to himself, but he did not directly take action. This was because he thought that if he took action now, he could only suppress these few titled deities. After winning, the other titled deities would definitely be afraid and would not fight with him again. And Jiangqin wanted to have a big harvest again, then. I am not bragging, but the cultivators of the Great Thousand World, if their cultivation does not exceed the titled deities, are no match for me. At this moment, Jiangqin's expression was extremely arrogant. He raised one hand, extended his middle finger, and waved it in front of the creatures of the Great Thousand World. Damn it! I have never seen such an arrogant person. Don't fight with those who are 2 levels higher. It doesn't mean that we can't gang up on him. For a moment, many bad-tempered cultivators took action. Among them, there were not only titled deities, but also honorable deities and mysterious deities. They all thought that since there were so many of them, even if each of them spat a mouthful of saliva, they could drown Jiangqin to death. However, the reality was a little cruel. At this moment, more than 30 people rushed over, each with a majestic aura. Some of them were pinching seals, forming a formation, and some even used secret techniques. An ocean fell from the sky, as if to drown this place. In this regard, Jiangqin looked indifferent, and stood proudly on the spot. He only stretched out his right hand gently to the side, and a green lamp appeared. Then, before the attacks from the sky arrived, the green lamp flashed, and a sharp sword ray suddenly burst out. 1,000 transformations heaven cut! With a light shout, the crowd saw a sword ray soaring into the sky, tearing the void and tearing the bodies of more than 30 people apart. Even their souls were annihilated by this sword strike. A cold sword ray destroyed the world. This hiss. At this moment, the surrounding people gasped. One had to know that more than 30 geniuses from the Great Thousand World. Among them, there was no lack of titled deities, and even Earth-level titled deities. These people came together, but they could not block Jiangqin's sword ray. Wow! You really can't be judged by the eyes of ordinary people, Nianchanga exclaimed and said. You are so powerful now? Shut up. The corner of Jiangqin's mouth twitched, and he said snappily, You are now a supreme god. Can you stop teasing me? I thought this trip to the 6 realms would be quite boring. I didn't expect there to be a genius like you in the 6 realms. It seems that this trip is not in vain. You are worthy of my help. Suddenly, a light but arrogant voice came from afar. Chapter 1037. When everyone heard this, they looked into the distance, and saw a golden-haired young man dressed in brocades slowly walking towards them. He was not very fast, as if he was taking a stroll. However, with every step he took, the road under his feet seemed to be distorted. With every step he took, it was as if he had crossed thousands of mountains and rivers, condensing thousands of miles into one step. The supreme movement technique of the human race, shrinking the ground into an inch. Jiangqin narrowed his eyes. He did not expect such a movement technique to exist in the great wide world. This is the disciple of the royal family. It is said that this family has an emperor in this era. He is very powerful. It's strange. The emperor of the royal family seems to have come to the 6 realms this time. Why haven't I seen him yet? Not only did the crowd reveal the identity of this young man, but they also thought of the golden-haired emperor who had come to the divine realm before. That emperor called himself a member of the royal family. When Jiang Chun heard this, his expression became strange. He also thought of the golden-haired emperor. That emperor was very powerful. Back then, he fought against the 3 emperors of the underworld alone, and was not at a disadvantage. He even suppressed the 3 emperors of the underworld. Such strength could be said to be the best among the emperors. However, the golden-haired emperor was very sad. He encountered Jiang Chun, who was possessed by Huang Tian's power. In the end, he was defeated and died. However, what was puzzling was that the creatures of the great wide world did not know about the death of the golden-haired emperor of the royal family. Could it be that the Buddhist emperor and the others had hidden it? Thinking about it carefully, it was indeed possible. After all, the great wide world had just entered the 6 realms. Not long after entering the 6 realms, they had lost an emperor. If this spread back to the great wide world, it would be too demoralizing and even more embarrassing. Of course, there was more than one emperor of the great wide world who had died in the 6 realms. Moreover, they were all killed by Jiang Chun. Your ancestor has been killed by me. How dare you, a disciple of the royal family, come here? Jiang Chun thought to himself. He narrowed his eyes and stared at the young man of the royal family without saying a word. At this moment, the young man of the royal family walked through the crowd with a proud look. When he came here, his eyes locked on Jiang Chun. He nodded gently and said, "Not bad. It's worth it for me to take action. It's said that the royal family doesn't have many disciples, but every one of them is a powerhouse. The royal clan has a powerful bloodline. It's said that they possess the ancient golden body bloodline. That's a physique that's comparable to a saint physique." Many people were amazed, but there were also creatures from the great wide world who were not interested in this young man from the royal family. Someone even said bluntly, "This person is at most a branch of the royal family. Look at his hair, not every strand is golden. Only the direct descendants of the royal family, whose bloodline is extremely pure, will have golden strands of hair, like a string of suns hanging on their hair. My royal family doesn't have any branch families or direct descendants. There are no weaklings in the royal family." The royal young man was clearly offended by the person's words and tried to defend himself. Then, he looked at Jiang Chun again. "Do you dare to fight me?" At this moment, the royal youth opened his mouth and issued a challenge. However, he seemed to be very proud and aloof. He only asked Jiang Chun if he dared to accept the challenge. Perhaps, as long as Jiang Chun shook his head, he would not have to fight. However, for Jiang Chun, as long as his cultivation did not exceed that of a titled deity, it was all the same. It didn't matter if you had a mortal grade title, an earth grade title, or even a heaven grade title. Now, it was all the same to him. He would suppress them all. The most important thing was that this young man from the royal family had not reached the level of a titled deity. He was only a lower-level venerable god. Although Jiang Chun had just entered the mysterious god realm, the cultivation of a lower-level venerable god was too weak in Jiang Chun's eyes. "You don't deserve to fight him." Suddenly, a purple gold light rushed over from afar, and an extremely domineering voice resounded in all directions. After a few breaths, the crowd saw a group of people coming from afar. They ran rampant all the way, and no one dared to stop them because this group of people was too special. The group of 10 people, all of whom were titled deities, and their titles were not low. All of them were earth-grade titles. Moreover, the title power of one of the older people had reached the heaven grade. These 10 people were none other than Jiang Lu and the others who had just come out of the Flourishing Age Academy. Now that the Flourishing Age Academy had arrived, the academy naturally came out. Today, they had also received news that the ancient ruins in the Chang'an Plain had opened, so they had come to take a look. Unexpectedly, as soon as they arrived, they saw someone challenging their boss. "You're just a lower-level venerable god. Where did you get the confidence to challenge my boss?" At this moment, Wakako walked over and stared at the young man from the royal family. His body was domineering, and when he opened and closed his eyes, there seemed to be endless sharp rays of light rotating in them. During this period of seclusion, Wakako had become more powerful. Not only had he become a titled deity, but he had also obtained an Earth-grade title. Now, not only was he domineering, but he also gave people a sense of stability. "How arrogant!" the young man from the royal family said contemptuously. "Don't tell me you think you can fight me with an Earth-grade title? Do you know that sometimes having a title is not a big deal? Hey, even without this title, I can still suppress you." Wakako was very domineering. After saying this, Wakako turned around and saluted Jiangchen. Then, he looked at the young man from the royal family again and asked, "Now it's my turn to ask you. Do you dare to fight me? There are 10 of us. You can pick one of us," Jianglu said with a simple and honest look on his face. Hearing this, the young man from the royal family's face suddenly darkened. "What the hell? You want me to pick one of them? How much are you looking down on me? A bunch of country bumpkins. Do they really not know how strong the disciples of the royal family are? The golden body bloodline allows them to have a physique comparable to a holy body. Their bodies are as strong as a rock. Even a titled deity might not be able to break through their physical defense." While everyone was mocking, Hualyeni walked out from the group of 10. She smiled gently and looked at the young man from the royal family, saying, "Why don't you fight with me? I should be the weakest in this group." Pfft. At this moment, the young man from the royal family was so angry that he almost vomited blood. He was furious, and secretly thought that this group of people had gone too far. They were looking down on him too much. "All of you, step aside! Wait until I suppress that boss of yours, then I'll teach you all a lesson one by one," the young man from the royal family said coldly. He pointed at Jiangchen and said, "Do you dare to fight me?" "Sure, let's fight," Jiangchen said softly with a look of indifference. Then Jiangchen stepped forward and beckoned the young man from the royal family, saying, "Come here." Chapter 1038. This royal youth was very strong. His blood chi soared into the sky, and the divine Tao laws in his body were like a dragon. He took a step forward, and his body was like a ferocious tiger with rays of divine light. With a punch, it was like a golden sun falling down. Boom! However, in the next moment, everyone saw the royal youth fly out directly. They only saw Jiangchen strike out a palm, and then, there was no more then. "This isn't appropriate. Impossible. He's just a Xian god. How can his combat power be so terrifying?" the creatures of the greater thousand world exclaimed. Some even rubbed their eyes hard, unable to believe what was happening in front of them. One had to know that the other party was a disciple from the royal family. Even if his bloodline was not pure, he was not someone that ordinary people could fight against. The most important thing was that in terms of realm, this royal youth had an absolute advantage. However, who would have thought that Jiangchen would send the other party flying with just one palm? "That's it. It can't be. That's it. Are you for real? That's it." At this moment, Wakako and the others were surprised and could not believe it. They thought that since this royal youth was so arrogant and confident, his combat power must be extraordinary. Perhaps he could really make Jiangchen take him seriously. However, who would have thought that it would be over with just one palm? "That's too weak, right?" Jianglu was very honest. He frowned and said doubtfully, "He's so weak, yet he's still jumping around like that. Is it really okay?" At this moment, the royal youth's face was pale. After being hit by Jiangchen's palm, his physical body almost collapsed. Now, he was weak all over. The divine power in his body had been scattered, and he could only lie on the ground on his back. It was difficult for him to even move his fingers. Can such a person be considered a genius in your greater thousand world? At this moment, Jiang Chun also had a puzzled look on his face. This royal youth's strength was indeed too weak for Jiang Chun. Of course, Jiang Chun himself did not realize how terrifying his combat power was now. His spine had transformed into a dragon, and he had shed several thousand spirit bodies. In addition to the transformation of his tiger bones and the blossoming of his rose and thorn flowers, his combat strength had reached an indescribable level. Even Jiang Chun himself didn't know how strong he was now. He's not considered a genius in our great wide world. He's just a little stronger than us, someone said. If the direct descendants of the royal family were here, you would have been defeated long ago. Around them, a group of people from the great thousand world spoke up, as if they wanted to save some face. In response, Jiang Chun chuckled, then looked at Jiang Lu and the others and said, "Do you want to try?" "That's exactly what I was thinking." Wakako immediately stepped forward. Purple chi erupted from his body, and his eyes seemed to contain endless domineering aura. "Everyone, I think you're mistaken, right? There are only a few cultivators from the 6 realms here, but we outnumber you by several times," a being from the greater thousand realms mocked. "Oh?" Jiang Chun was stunned for a moment. He looked at the person who spoke and said, "What's wrong? Do you want to have a group fight?" No, it's not a group fight," that person said contemptuously. "It's us who will crush you." After that, he called out, and thousands of people attacked at the same time. They didn't even want to say anything. They raised their hands and punched. In an instant, this side of the world changed color. The attacks covered the sky like a storm, covering everything here. From a distance, this place looked like it was raining cats and dogs, but it also looked like it was raining fire. "It's just 1,000 people," Jiang Chun said softly. When his voice fell, the divine power in his body surged, and his hand suddenly formed a seal. In a few breaths, the formation runes erupted and danced around him like golden spiritual snakes. After a few more breaths, the formation runes condensed, and with a tremor, a defensive formation rose. Jiang Chun and the others were enveloped by the brilliant light curtain, which looked like a canopy covering the sky. Then, they looked up and smiled at the group of people from the great thousand world outside the formation. Formation? Humph! How can a mere formation stop me? At this moment, in the great thousand world, several cultivators who were proficient in formations shouted angrily. Then, a large number of formation runes fell. In just a few breaths, the formation set up by Jiang Chun was directly destroyed. Then, the sky full of attacks fell like a raging wave, wave after wave. "You people are really shameless." Jiang Lu was furious. He took a step forward and displayed the celestial body. Like a giant, he stood in front of Jiang Chun and the others. Then, Jiang Chun held up his hands like 2 golden boulders and blocked all the attacks falling from the sky. When the seemingly violent attacks fell on Jiang Lu's palms, only a series of explosions and roars were heard. They couldn't even scratch his skin. This is a holy body. An archaic holy body. At this moment, many people exclaimed. They all knew that this kind of holy body could be said to be the strongest physical body. And the honest young man in front of them had an even more unusual holy body. Obviously, it had advanced. One victory, one life. You guys go and pick up a few lives yourselves. Jiang Chun waved his hand and said, "From now on, nothing is worth anything. Only life is worth the most. I've been in seclusion for a long time. It's time to move my legs. I haven't fought for a long time." At this moment, Jiang Lu and the others rushed out like tigers and wolves into a flock of sheep. They used all their means. It was very violent but also very simple. For example, Jiang Lu, Wakako, and Dongfang Wushuang didn't even use their divine skills. They directly attacked with their physical bodies. Wherever they went, no one could stop them. On the other side, Ghost Shadow Dao beside Shao Qingyi formed a seal with his hands and suddenly pressed it into the void. In an instant, countless ferocious ghosts appeared out of thin air. They wailed like ghosts and howled like wolves and swallowed many people directly. Of course, there were also a few people who didn't attack. For example, Bifingyu, Nayland Meyer, and Hualiani. According to the three of them, they only needed to be in charge of beauty. As for fighting and killing, they would leave it to Jiang Lu and the others. However, there was still one person who didn't attack. This person was Han Gang. He stood beside Jiang Chun and didn't attack, but his eyes were filled with fighting spirit and anger. I heard some news. The godly realm has compromised? Han Gang said in a deep voice. Are we just going to wait until the godly realm is destroyed? Hearing this, Jiang Chen's eyes flashed with a trace of helplessness and bitterness. He nodded and sighed. The strength of the two sides is not on the same level at all. When the emperors of the Great Thousand World arrive, the 6 realms are destined to be destroyed. Now, since the Great Thousand World is willing to give the 6 realms a chance, we can only accept it. Speaking of this, Jiang Chun was also resentful. There was a wisp of anger burning in his heart that he couldn't vent. Everyone knew that the 6 realms had compromised, but the Great Thousand World was still so high and mighty as if they were doing charity to the 6 realms. Chapter 1039. The vanguard of the Great Thousand World entered the Divine Realm, and a group of emperors attacked. But what was the result? Did the 6 realms lose? The answer was obvious. The 6 realms won. Several emperors of the Great Thousand World died. However, the result was the opposite. The 6 realms won, but they still retreated. Because the momentum was unstoppable. Everyone knew that the Great Thousand World's foundation was too deep. To the Great Thousand World, what was the loss of a few emperors? One had to know that the Great Thousand World was made up of thousands, or even tens of thousands of worlds. If each world gave birth to an emperor, there would be thousands of them. What about the 6 realms? The 5 realms were destroyed, and only the divine realm of the 9 heavens was left. Even if the emperors of the other 5 realms were hiding in the divine realm, there would be less than 100 of them. There might not even be 30 of them. The disparity in strength between the two sides was too great. We can only fight. Jiang Chen sighed. There is no other choice. I am unwilling. Han Gang sighed. His heart was very depressed. But what could he do? The Great Thousand World was indeed powerful. It was difficult to compete with them. Now, to leave a glimmer of hope for the future generations, it was a great fortune for the 6 realms. The Buddha Emperor's position in the Great Thousand World should be very high. This agreement was proposed by him. Jiang Chen said and glanced at the outer realm. There was an extremely bright golden sun. And that sun was the Buddha Emperor. Since he dared to negotiate with the 6 realms and dared to agree to this matter, his position in the Great Thousand World must not be low. At least, he could bear this responsibility. However, there was a problem. Even if many people in the 6 realms survived, the 6 realms would have been destroyed by then. Then, where should the survivors go? There was only one answer, and that was to enter the Great Thousand World. However, could the Great Thousand World accommodate the creatures of the 6 realms? If they went to the Great Thousand World, would they be ostracized or even directly suppressed? At the thought of this, Jiang Chen's heart became more and more bitter, and he felt even more powerless. In the end, everything he was doing now was fighting for a glimmer of hope. As for whether that glimmer of hope could really let some people survive, it was hard to say. It seems that it is necessary to discuss it with the Buddha Emperor and ask him clearly. Jiang Chen thought to himself. However, with Jiang Chen's strength, he might not even have the chance to talk to the Buddha Emperor. He could only ask the Buddha Darch when the yellow sky's power possessed him again. At this moment, the battle around them was still going on. Jianglu and the others were very fierce. Several of them rushed into the crowd as if there was no one there. Of course, there were still many people of the Great Thousand World were watching. This was because the Buddha Emperor had said Great Thousand World. This seemed fair, but in reality, the Buddha Emperor was still protecting the living beings of the Great Thousand World. They of the great thousand worlds, great thousand world, thousand world, world, thousand world, world, thousand world. Of them, great thousand world live? Interesting. Just a few people are able to fight against thousands of cultivators from the great thousand world and not be at a disadvantage. Of you, of course. And of them, that was of them. The person in the lead had phoenix eyes and white hair. His sleeves fluttered in the wind, making him look very ethereal. Behind him, there were 3 other youths. They were all very handsome and had extraordinary auras. One look and one could tell that they were not ordinary people. The person who spoke was the white-haired youth with phoenix eyes. At this moment, with his arrival, the group of living beings in the great wide world who were still fighting suddenly stopped. They all retreated to the side and respectfully opened up a path, as if they were welcoming the group of people with phoenix eyes and white hair. Someone from the Heavenly Phoenix clan! Phoenix Lin Plume! Many people in the surroundings exclaimed softly as they revealed the identity of the white-haired young man with phoenix eyes. The 3 young men behind him were all his followers, and their cultivations were all at the titled deity realm. As for Feng Lin Ling, his cultivation level had reached the level of a lesser chief god. Moreover, the aura he gave off was actually no weaker than that of a higher chief god. The few of you, according to the agreement between the Buddha Emperor and the emperors of the 6 realms, you can live. Feng Lin Ling said. When the 6 realms are destroyed, you can follow me into the great wide world and join my Heavenly Phoenix clan. You can rest assured that my Heavenly Phoenix clan will not exclude you. For cultivators with good talent, my Heavenly Phoenix clan will accept them. At this point, a young man behind him had a stern expression. He looked at Jianglu and the others and shouted, "Aren't you going to thank us? Are you done forcing us? Have you asked if we agree?" Wakako was very domineering. He glared at the person who shouted and said, "Who do you think you are? A dog relying on its master's power? Or should I say, a bunch of straw dogs?" As soon as he said this, the people around could not help but be moved. One had to know that that was a member of the Heavenly Phoenix clan. Even if it was his follower, ordinary people would not dare to speak to him like that. The Heavenly Phoenix clan's status in the great wide world was extremely high. It was said that the ancestor of the Heavenly Phoenix clan was suspected to have taken that crucial step and stood above the emperor. I like this arrogance and domineering attitude. Feng Lin Ling nodded and praised. He did not have any intention of blaming Wakako. He glanced at Wakako and said, "I can see that people like you only submit to the strong, right? This is how the world is. The strong are respected. In my eyes, Wakako, if you're strong, you're right. If you're weak, you're nothing. Even your words are like farts," Wakako said bluntly. Good. Good. The admiration in Feng Lin Ling's eyes grew stronger. It seemed that he valued Wakako very much. Then, he nodded at the young man who had spoken before and said, "You'll fight with him." When the young man heard this, a cold light flashed in his eyes. He immediately took a step forward and pointed at Wakako. "You'll pay for what you said just now." "Oh? Why don't you give it a try?" Wakako smiled contemptuously. When he finished speaking, his body was like a purple gold thunderbolt as he rushed out. Wherever he passed, the void collapsed. Vaguely, one could hear the howls of tigers and wolves. He was too domineering, and his attacks were decisive. However, before he arrived, a purple fist radiance appeared in front of the young man. "You're just an earth-level titled deity," the young man said contemptuously. He raised his hand and struck out with his palm. There seemed to be whirlpools rotating in his palm. With one strike, Wakako's fist radiance was shattered. At the same time, the young man's palm print did not reduce its momentum, and directly bombarded Wakako's body. Bang! However, with this strike, Wakako's body only shook slightly. Even the corner of his clothes was not torn. Wakako stopped and patted the place where he was hit as if he was dusting off dust. "That's it." Wakako raised his eyebrows and stared at the young man. He said, "You're a heaven-level titled deity? Oh. It seems that you're just SOSO. Oh? The young man raised his eyebrows, and the cold light in his eyes grew stronger. His voice was as cold as the winter frost. He said, "You will be miserable." Chapter 1040. Feng Lin Ling was from the Heavenly Phoenix clan. He was extremely talented and was quite famous even in the Great Thousand World. To be able to become his follower, his strength was definitely not weak. At that moment, the young man was infuriated by Wakako. With a furious roar, he formed seals with both hands. In an instant, a swamp appeared. It was as dark as an abyss and seemed to be able to swallow everything. In the swamp, there were whirlpools flowing in reverse. A terrifying pulling force erupted and enveloped Wakako's body. Wakako's expression froze, but there was no fear in his eyes. He took a step forward, and when his foot landed, it was like a golden millstone. It was as if he wanted to fill up the black swamp with his foot. "Idiot!" the young man said disdainfully. "This is an abyss of Taoist techniques. Even if a Lord God came, he would be swallowed. Is that so?" Wakako raised his eyebrows and continued to land his foot. His entire body was emitting endless light. Boom! In the next moment, the foot landed with a loud bang, causing the swamp's dirty water to splash everywhere. Even the whirlpools inside were destroyed. Then, Wakako threw another punch. Like a meteor falling from the sky, it blasted through the swamp. Without waiting for the young man to react, Wakako rushed out like a purple gold rock. Wherever he passed, the sound of sonic booms could be heard. Boom! Boom! In the midst of the explosions, under everyone's shocked gazes, Wakako rushed to the young man and slapped him. The runes on his palm shone brightly, and there were even fragments of Taoist techniques floating. "How dare you!" The young man was shocked and furious. He raised his hand and punched out. At the same time, runes exploded in his eyes, and a terrifying divine consciousness rushed into Wakako's soul. Buzz! At that moment, Wakako's soul was impacted. His body stiffened, and his palm also stopped for a moment. At that moment, the young man retreated. However, as he retreated, his divine consciousness materialized and turned into a sharp sword that pierced between Wakako's eyebrows. He was going to kill him. "Wakako! Be careful!" At this moment, Jianglu and the others cried out in alarm. Their expressions were tense, and their hearts were in their throats. "I am the tyrant, unparalleled under the heavens!" At this critical moment, Wakako regained his senses, stabilized his soul fluctuations, and with a roar, he punched out and shattered the sword formed by his divine sense. Soon after, he strode out like a shooting star, like a fierce tiger descending a mountain. He seemed to be even faster, like a streak of purple gold lightning. Boom! This time, without waiting for the young man to react, Ruo Xiao rushed in front of him and slapped the young man's face fiercely. Puff! A mouthful of blood sprayed out from the young man's mouth. Broken bones and teeth fell from his mouth, and half of his face was shattered. However, it had to be said that this youth was extremely powerful. He instantly reforged his flesh, and at the same time, his divine will erupted. This time, his divine sense gathered and scattered in the air like raindrops. Then, the divine thoughts turned into ice and frost that filled the sky like icicles. As they spun, they drowned Wakako. Boom! Boom! At this moment, everyone could only see a snow-white sky. They could not see Wakako's figure. The only thing that could be heard was a series of explosions, accompanied by a terrifying divine sense that flooded the area like a tidal wave. "Wakako!" Jianglu and the others exclaimed, looking nervous. However, all of a sudden, the ice and frost in the sky shattered. They saw Wakako's body emitting purple gold flames of the divine path. With a sweep of his hand, the sky and earth instantly turned clear. Then, he stretched out his palm. There seemed to be a sea of flames in his palm, and his 5 fingers were like a cage, trapping the young man. Then, under everyone's horrified gaze, Wakako closed his 5 fingers and pressed his palm against the young man's skull. "You can't do it!" Wakako raised his eyebrows. He only needed to exert a little force to crush the young man's skull and destroy his soul. However, Wakako had some concerns. After all, there were too many creatures in the greater Thousand Realms. He did not care if he killed them, but he was afraid that he would implicate Jiangchen and the others. Therefore, he stopped. Go to hell! Just when everyone thought that the battle had ended with Wakako's victory, the young man suddenly made a move. His divine thoughts burst out at an extremely fast speed. Like a dark flash of light, it instantly sank into Wakako's soul. Hiss! Wakako's face instantly turned pale. He gasped as his soul was hit. His body staggered a few steps and could not stand steadily. At the same time, the young man's divine thoughts turned into a sword and slashed at Wakako's skull. If this sword hit, Wakako would be seriously injured even if he did not die. How dare you! Shameless! Jianglu and the others shouted angrily and rushed over to save Wakako. However, the sword was too fast. Even if Jianglu and the others hurried to help, it was too late. Bastard! However, just when everyone thought that Wakako was about to die, Feng Linling suddenly shouted angrily. With a flick of his finger, he broke the young man's sword. Then, under everyone's gaze, Feng Linling slapped the young man's face and said coldly, "You've lost and you still dare to hurt others? You're embarrassing me!" Master! The young man was stunned. He wanted to explain, but he also understood that his behavior just now was indeed too much. After all, if Wakako had not stopped, he would have been a corpse by now. However, he was unwilling to accept this. After 3 breaths of silence, the young man said in a low voice, "Master, they're just ants in the burial ground. Why would you, for him? All living things in the world are equal. Victory or defeat is a matter of half." Feng Linling said coldly, "There's no difference between high and low. There's only a ray of light in your heart." With that, Feng Linling pointed his finger and a ray of light entered the young man's body. Ah! The young man screamed miserably. His face was pale, and a trace of disbelief flashed in his eyes. Because he was Feng Linling's follower, and Feng Linling had crippled his cultivation in front of so many people. And all of this was because of a living thing in the burial ground. Why? Master! Why? The young man roared angrily. His eyes were filled with confusion and resentment. "My Heavenly Phoenix clan doesn't need someone like you," Feng Linling said coldly. "You're a disgrace." With that, Feng Linling ignored the young man and turned to Wakako. He cupped his hands and said, "Fellow Taoist, I'm sorry. I didn't discipline my subordinates well. Don't tell me you think you saved me?" Wakako narrowed his eyes and pointed at the top of his head. "Even if that sword hit me, I wouldn't have died. Don't think that I'll thank you. The living things of the 6 realms don't need the pity of your great wide world," Wakako said. Feng Linling smiled and said, "I do like your temper, fellow Taoist. Your talent is also very outstanding. Why don't you seriously consider joining my Heavenly Phoenix clan?" Chapter 1041. Ever since Feng Linling appeared, Jiangchen had not said a word. That was because he was sizing up Feng Linling and thinking about the future. As mentioned before, those who survived the 6 realms were destined to go to the Great Thousand World. Then, after going to the Great Thousand World, if they did not have anyone to rely on and no force to protect them, they were destined to have difficulties and might even die prematurely. Now, Jiangchen was thinking that perhaps the Heavenly Phoenix tribe could do it. However, after all, he had just seen Feng Linling, so Jiangchen could not be sure immediately. He still had to observe more. At that moment, Wakako was still as domineering as before. He looked straight at Feng Linling and raised his eyebrows. "I only respect the strong. If you can defeat my boss, I will agree to anything you ask me to do." As soon as he said that, the expressions of everyone present changed. That was because they all knew that the boss Wakako was talking about was Jiangchen, and Jiangchen was only a Xian god. Could it be that Wakako thought that Feng Linling, the master god, could not defeat Jiangchen, the Xian god? How much confidence did she have in Jiangchen to have the nerve to say that? Moreover, after Wakako said that, it was equivalent to entrusting everything to Jiangchen. Everyone could not understand how much Wakako trusted Jiangchen. Otherwise, why would he dare to say that? Your boss? Who is it? Feng Linling had just arrived, so of course, he did not know who Wakako's boss was. Soon, someone pointed at Jiangchen. When Feng Linling saw Jiangchen's cultivation, his expression became unnatural. This? Fellow cultivator, are you joking? Feng Linling frowned and said, Perhaps your boss is really strong, but the difference in cultivation between him and me is not small. So what? I believe in boss, Wakako said seriously. Then he turned to look at Jiangchen and asked, Boss, is there a problem? Jiangchen had a strange look on his face. What kind of people were around him? She only knew how to dig a hole for him. Although Jiangchen was strong, his cultivation was indeed a little low. Of course, facing average cultivators, Jiangchen could still easily suppress them. But this Feng Linling in front of him was clearly not ordinary. Jiangchen had been sizing up Feng Linling, but by then, he still wasn't sure how strong Feng Linling's fighting power was. And now, Wakako had dug a hole for him. Should he jump into this hole? Fellow Taoist, there's no rush. We'll stay here for a while. You have time to think about it, Feng Linling said. As for fighting with your boss, forget it. I, Feng Linling, don't like to bully people. In short, wherever boss goes, I'll go, Wakako said. Now, my boss hasn't said anything. His cultivation is indeed a little low. Why don't you fight with me? At this moment, a woman walked out. She had a valiant figure, but there was a murderous aura between her brows. This person was Tian Shui. Back then, when Glory World Academy was established, Tian Shui was also among them. She entered the West Hall where Jiangchen was. Now that Glory World Academy had appeared, the 10 people who entered the West Hall were all here today. Looking at Tian Shui's current cultivation, she was at the titled God realm. Moreover, her title was not Earth but Heaven. Thinking about it, it was most likely the Empress who secretly helped Tian Shui get a Heaven title from somewhere. Female, your cultivation is lower than mine. If I fight, it's not fair to you. Feng Linling frowned and looked unwilling. And when these words fell into Tian Shui's ears, they were simply mocking her. Who was she? The descendant of the Empress. The blood of the Empress flowed in her veins. Although she was not the biological daughter of the Empress, and the Empress had never married or had a cultivation partner, she was from the Empress's clan. She was from the same clan as the Empress, from the Emperor clan. Tian Shui had the arrogance of an emperor, and also the murderous aura of the 10 sins. The most important thing was that the Empress's clan was filled with female power. Feng Linling's other words were still fine. But that woman was simply a thorn in Tian Shui's flesh. Little white bird, come here. Sister will help you remove your feathers today. Tian Shui's face turned pale, and her murderous aura erupted. Her body shook, and the 3-headed and 6-armed Azure Dao Soul appeared behind her. And now, this Dao Soul's real name was the 10 Sins. 10 Sins! Damn! The Azure Dao Soul has actually evolved to the complete form. At this moment, there were exclamations everywhere. No one had expected to meet someone who had the 10 sins in the 6 realms. Moreover, it was a woman. Who are you calling a little white bird? Feng Linling's face darkened. One had to know that to the Heavenly Phoenix clan, calling them a bird was simply a form of humiliation. However, Feng Linling seemed to be a macho man, and he did not get angry when facing Tian Shui. I am talking about you. You have a head of white hair, and your original form is a phoenix. If you are not a little white bird, what are you? Tian Shui raised her brows and said, Hurry up! Fellow cultivator, since you insist, don't blame me for making a move, Feng Linling said in a deep voice. As he spoke, he actually suppressed his cultivation to the level of a titled god. "I never bully others," Feng Linling said. Boom! However, just as he finished speaking, everyone saw Tian Shui making a move. With a loud explosion, the 10 Evils general manager directly rushed out. He waved his 3 heads and 6 arms, and saber lights and sword shadows overlapped each other. A blood-red barrier descended and enveloped Tian Shui and Feng Linling. "I really don't want to make a move against a woman." Feng Linling frowned. With a push of his hands, he actually shattered the blood-red barrier. Then, he attacked with his bare hands, and punched out continuously. The fist and palm prints transformed into many white phoenixes, and with a whistling sound, they clashed with the 10 sins. At the same time, his original body rushed in front of Tian Shui, and his fist pressed down. It was like a phoenix's claw, and it carried a sharp aura, as though it was indestructible. "The Tao technique of the Heavenly Phoenix Clan, Phoenix Spirit 9 slashes!" someone exclaimed. "You still dared to call yourself a king in front of me?" Tian Shui's eyes narrowed, and she shouted, "In this world, everyone in my clan is king!" Boom! Just as she finished speaking, Tian Shui pulled out the sword in her hand, and a sword ray shot up like a crescent moon. Dang! The sword and Feng Linling's palm collided, and the sound of metal clashing could be heard. It was very ear-piercing. Eh? Tian Shui was stunned. Her sword was personally refined by the Empress, and it was extremely sharp. However, her opponent actually dared to take it head-on. "Fellow cultivator, be careful. This is the Tao technique of my clan," Feng Linling said softly. "Next, I will use the second slash of the Phoenix Spirit 9 slashes." Bang! Just as he finished speaking, Feng Linling's chest was hit by Tian Shui's palm, and he was sent flying. "You talk too much," Tian Shui said disdainfully. "Little white bird." Chapter 1042. Tian Shui was dressed in white and had the 10 Evils chief minister on her back. She held a bright longsword in her hand and looked like a goddess of war. She stared at Feng Linling with a tinge of fear in her eyes. Although she had sent Feng Linling flying earlier, Feng Linling was not injured at all. In fact, Feng Linling had not used his true strength since the beginning. Perhaps Feng Linling was a man who did not want to fight with a woman. However, it was different now. Tian Shui had called him a little white bird several times, and this made him angry. "Woman, you have angered me," Feng Linling said coldly. "Don't blame me for being merciless. We are enemies. Why do you need to go easy on me?" Tian Shui said softly. The 10 Evils chief minister roared and the 3 heads spat out the power of wind, rain, and thunder. They were like 3 dragons that charged towards Feng Linling. At the same time, the 6 arms danced with swords and saber lights and sword shadows shot out like a gale. Tian Shui's body was like a ghost, leaving behind afterimages in the air. When she appeared again, she was already standing behind Feng Linling. She slashed out with her sword and the sword light was like snow. It was so white that it made one's scalp numb. It was as if nothing in the world could block this sword. In front of him was the 10 Evils chief minister, and behind him was a shocking sword light. Facing such a pincer attack, Feng Linling was very calm. He pointed out with his finger, and a ray of light shot out from his fingertip. A white phoenix let out a long cry. It flapped its wings and created waves in the air, shattering the saber lights and sword shadows. Even the 10 Evils chief minister was sent back into Tian Shui's body. After that, he turned around and raised his middle finger and index finger. Under Tian Shui's horrified gaze, he easily caught her long sword. "A woman should stay at home to take care of her husband and children. Even if you have some strength, you should not show off your abilities," Feng Linling said softly. "Fighting is a man's business. Who are you looking down on?" Tian Shui glared angrily and shouted. The 10 Evils chief minister appeared again. This time, the moment the 10 Evils chief minister appeared, he turned into a rain of light and seemed to have collapsed. However, A scarlet battle robe was draped over Tian Shue's body. At the same time, the long sword in his hand turned blood red. When he slashed down, it was as if a river of blood was flowing down. As a woman, it's not bad that you have such strength. You can join my Heavenly Phoenix clan, Feng Linling whispered. Suddenly, a huge white phoenix appeared behind him. Then, the phoenix let out a long cry. Rays of white flames burst out like the most dazzling art in the world. As the wings of the white phoenix flapped, white flames descended, first striking Tian Shui, then suppressing her to the ground. You lost. After doing all this, Feng Linling spoke in a light voice. After that, he actually walked in front of Tian Shui and stretched out his hand. Let me help you up. This guy. Is he a male chauvinist or a gentleman? Why does it feel weird? Jiang Qin muttered. On the other hand, the beings from the great wide world seemed very calm. They did not find Feng Linling's behavior strange at all. This was because the Heavenly Phoenix clan valued etiquette the most. Moreover, the entire clan was dominated by male chauvinism. My Heavenly Phoenix clan belongs to the Phoenix clan. Our Phoenix clan has always been more courteous than others, Feng Linling said. However, Tian Shui did not appreciate his kindness. After glaring at Feng Linling, she got up and returned to Jiang Chen's side without saying a word. A loss was a loss. This was normal. Tian Shui did not feel anything. After all, there was a difference in strength between all things in the world. However, even if you were strong today, it did not mean that you would always be strong in the future. A group of human pets from the great wide world. I am Huang Dade of the Degeneration. Suddenly, an ear-piercing voice came from afar. Then, Long Dade, Huang Dade, and Niao Dade flew over. Before they arrived, the arrogant words of these three people reverberated in all directions. This was especially so for Huang Dade. After not seeing him for a while, this guy's cultivation had improved a lot. He had become an upper-level chief god. Now, he was in high spirits and looked down on everyone. This was especially so when he looked at the human race. He kept calling them human pets. He was very happy. Fellow cultivator, it's a phoenix. The group of living beings from the great wide world had strange expressions. They looked at Huang Dade, who was baring his teeth and spouting vulgarities. Then they looked at Feng Linling, who was absolutely polite. Is this the difference between them? That's not right. Didn't Feng Linling say that the Phoenix clan cares about etiquette? This Phoenix. Why? Many people were discussing, but no one said anything. This was because they did not know that Huang Dade was a living being from the 6 realms. In their eyes, since Feng Linling had appeared here today, other living beings from the Phoenix clan would also appear here. They thought that this Phoenix might be related to Feng Linling. They might even be relatives. However, Feng Linling was also dumbfounded. One must know that in the great wide world, the entire Phoenix clan was well-mannered. He had never seen a phoenix that behaved so boldly. Especially this phoenix. When it saw some good-looking female cultivators, it even whistled and said, "You're good-looking. You're qualified to be my human pet. I'll allow you to warm up the atmosphere and breed for me." Feng Linling was completely confused. He said bluntly, "I don't know him. He's not from the Heavenly Phoenix clan." Hey! Little white bird. Wow! White Phoenix? At this moment, the 3 great deities arrived. When they saw Feng Linling, they immediately went over. Long Dade went up to Feng Linling. He blinked his dragon eyes and asked curiously, "Huang Dade, this guy's color is different from yours. We're different species. Perhaps his bloodline is not pure." Huang Dade thought for a while and said, "After all, I'm the 9 Netherworld Phoenix. I'm the only one in this world. Ordinary Phoenix bloodlines are not as pure as mine. I think his bloodline is not as pure as Huang Dade's." Bird Dade's face was almost on Feng Linling's face. "The 3 of you, aren't you going overboard?" At this moment, Feng Linling could not hold it in anymore. He released his cultivation and returned to the level of an over-god. Then, a huge white phoenix shadow appeared behind him. He said coldly, "I'm from the Heavenly Phoenix clan. My bloodline is pure and flawless." "Oh? Heavenly Phoenix?" Long Dade was stunned. He had never heard of the Heavenly Phoenix clan. He frowned and asked curiously, "Can the Heavenly Phoenix clan compare to my holy ancestral dragon?" "I don't know if they can compare to your brother Long, but they definitely can't compare to my ancestral vermilion bird," Bird Dade said seriously. When Huang Dade heard this, he coughed a few times and said, "What Heavenly Phoenix clan? I was born and raised by heaven and earth. I am the only 9 netherworld phoenix in the world." Chapter 1043. There were many living beings in the world, and they were known as the 100 races. Among them, the number of demons was much higher than the human race. Among the huge demon races, the Heavenly Phoenix race was definitely the king of the demons. Their bloodline was extremely strong, and their talents and physical bodies were not comparable to ordinary demons. However, Feng Linling was a little messy at that moment. That was because the 3 deities in front of him were each more powerful than the other. The Holy Ancestral Dragon? Damn it, wasn't that the dragon race's true ancestor? Logically speaking, such a living being should not appear in the future unless it was born from an accident. As for the Holy Ancestral Dragon, no matter which demon race it was placed in, it was the king of kings. Its bloodline was extremely noble. If the dragon race in the Great Thousand World knew that there was an underage holy ancestral dragon in the 6 realms, the entire dragon race would probably come to welcome Long Dade. Look at that bird Dade, the vermilion bird ancestor. The vermilion bird was the flame controller of the 4 divine beasts. It had been famous since ancient times, and its strength was not inferior to the Heavenly Phoenix race. Most importantly, this vermilion bird was also at the ancestral level. Of course, to Feng Linling, the ancestral dragon and vermilion bird were not of the same race as him. Since Feng Linling had a noble status and a pure bloodline, it had nothing to do with him. However, Huang Dade was a phoenix, born from heaven and earth, and only one of its kind. This? Feng Linling had a strange expression. He thought that such an extinct living being would actually appear in the 6 realms. One had to know that there were many phoenixes in the phoenix race. There were ice, fire, lightning, and other types of phoenixes. Among them, the Heavenly Phoenix race was a wind-type phoenix. It was considered the king of the entire phoenix race. However, compared to the 9 netherworld phoenix, the Heavenly Phoenix race was nothing. According to the historical records of the phoenix race, the 9 netherworld phoenix was the true king of the phoenix race. It was far from what the Heavenly Phoenix race could compare to. The phoenix race knows etiquette. "You!" Feng Linling frowned and took a few steps back. "Fellow cultivators, you've gone too far. Little white bird, why are you so petty? Just let us take a look," Long Dade shouted. "Indeed, I've never seen a white phoenix before. I even like it when I see one. Tisk tsk tsk. Huang Dade, is this your relative? Hurry up and acknowledge him. Perhaps he will be of great use in the future." Bird Dade clenched his teeth and said. However, ever since Huang Dade started following Long Dade, he had a very high standard. He glanced at Feng Linling from the corner of his eyes, curled his lips, and said, "It's just an ordinary heavenly phoenix. It's fine to be my follower, I." At this moment, Feng Linling could no longer hold it in. "Even if your bloodline is noble and pure, but I'm stronger than you. In this world where the strong are respected, you have to understand the situation clearly. The 3 of you, seeing that we are all demons, I will not lower myself to your level." Feng Linling said in a deep voice, "If you continue to shoot your mouths off and have the intention to harm me, don't blame me for being ruthless." "Yo! Little white bird is angry." Long Dade widened his eyes, picked his teeth with his dragon claws, and said mockingly, "Little white bird, show us what it means to be ruthless. So what if you are the holy ancestral dragon? Feng Linling shouted angrily. Don't force me. Huh! You're quite arrogant. And how dare you speak to Brother Long like that? At this moment, Bird Dade and Huang Dade did not wait for Long Dade to attack. Both birds were at the level of chief gods. Their bloodlines were pure. As their cultivation increased, their abilities became even more terrifying. Boom! Boom! In the next moment, under everyone's stunned gaze, Feng Linling could not even last one round and was suppressed to the ground by Bird Dade and Huang Dade. The previously arrogant Feng Linling was beaten out of his original form. His feathers were messy, and he glared at the three Dades angrily. TSK. The three of you. Don't go overboard. He is from the Heavenly Phoenix race. The three of you, calm down. Let's talk nicely. Don't fight. You are all demons. Around them, a few God King level cultivators spoke. They did not attack Long Dade and the other two. Instead, they smiled. This made Jiang Chen a little confused. What was going on? Logically speaking, these people came from the Great Thousand World and had a common enemy. They should attack Long Dade and the other two at this moment. But now, it felt like these people were sucking up to Long Dade and the other two. Of course, Jiang Chen did not know that the dragon race and the vermilion bird race were very powerful in the Great Thousand World. And the demons were not separated by borders. If the dragon race and the vermilion bird race of the Great Thousand World knew that their ancestors were here, they would definitely come and welcome them. Now, this group of people was very clear. If they could build a good relationship now, they might be able to build a relationship with the dragon race and the vermilion bird race in the future. At this moment, when the three Dades saw that this group of powerhouses from the Great Thousand World did not make things difficult for them, they immediately became arrogant. Especially Long Dade. As the leader of the three Dades, he looked up to the sky and narrowed his eyes as if he was the most capable person in the world. As for Niao Dade, he was also tall and straight, and he enjoyed the feeling of being admired. Only Huang Dade's behavior. Humph. I can see that you all want to curry favor with me. I'll give you a chance now. Get a few beautiful young girls here. I want to take in human pets and I want to reproduce. Huang Dade shouted. As soon as these words came out, the group of people had strange expressions. Some female cultivators even blushed. Even Jiang Chen could not stand it anymore. He coughed a few times and said, Pay attention to your image. You don't deserve to be a phoenix. Feng Linling said in a deep voice. He felt that Huang Dade was too embarrassing for the phoenix race. However, Huang Dade did not think so. Is it wrong for me to want to reproduce? I want to reproduce a 9 Netherworld Phoenix race. At that time, the Heavenly Phoenix tribe, the Fire Phoenix tribe, they will all have to submit to my 9 Netherworld Phoenix. Let him go. Suddenly, an ordinary-looking young man walked out from the crowd. He slowly came in front of Niao Dade and Huang Dade. He did not do anything, but Huang Dade and Niao Dade were sent flying. Then the young man helped Feng Linling up and said softly, Are you okay, big brother? When Feng Linling saw the young man, the arrogance in his eyes disappeared, and he said with a trace of shame, Big brother, I've embarrassed the Heavenly Phoenix race. It's okay. The ordinary-looking young man shook his head and comforted him. Their bloodline is indeed extraordinary. It's normal for their strength to be above yours. Moreover, the two of them attacked you at the same time. Little brat! How dare you hurt my brothers? At this moment, Long Dade glared at the ordinary-looking young man. He spat out dragon breath and stared at the ordinary-looking young man. Chapter 1044. This young man was too ordinary, so much so that no one noticed him when he was in the crowd earlier. At this moment, everyone realized that this ordinary-looking young man had the same white hair as Feng Linling. Moreover, Feng Linling even called him Big Brother. With Feng Linling's identity, it was naturally impossible for him to become someone else's follower. Then, this young man's identity was self-evident. He was also from the Heavenly Phoenix clan. My younger brother will never bully others. I hope that everyone will not bully him. At this moment, the young man looked at the three great virtues with a hint of fear in his eyes. After all, the identities of these three great virtues were there. Even if they were creatures of the six realms, in the end, they were still demons. Moreover, they were three ancestral demons. Even if the elders of the Heavenly Phoenix clan or even the clan leader came, they would not dare to do anything to the three great virtues. Little brat! Are you courting death? How dare you attack my two brothers? Longdade said at the top of his voice. He glared and breathed out dragon's breath. The dragon's breath was like a remnant cloud, sweeping in all directions. A scorching aura filled the air with endless dragon's might. This dragon is only a lord god, but his dragon's might is comparable to a godly king true dragon. As expected of an ancestral true dragon. If the dragon clan knew that there was an ancestral true dragon here, they would most likely come and respectfully welcome him back. Many people exclaimed. There were even people who stood out and stared at the ordinary young man. Kid, show some respect when you speak. He's an ancestral true dragon. That's right. Even if you're from the Heavenly Phoenix clan, you have to keep a low profile and be humble in front of this ancestral true dragon. In an instant, three godly kings from the great wide world stood out and supported Longdade. Jiangchun was really surprised by what he had seen. Humans are inferior to dragons. Jiangchun smiled bitterly in his heart. They were clearly on two different sides, but in the end, look at the three great virtues. Even the godly kings of the great wide world had to curry favor with them. This was the difference between different races. I'm already keeping a low profile. The ordinary young man frowned and said, If it weren't for their identities, it wouldn't have been as simple as sending them flying. Kid! Do you think you can suppress us? Arrogant! It's just a little white bird. Huang Dade and Yao Dade scolded angrily. They had been sent flying by this young man and had lost face. Now, the two birds bared their fangs and looked like they were going to swallow each other alive. However, these two birds soon became listless. It was all because they found out from the mouths of everyone that this ordinary-looking young man was called Feng Qilin, and he was the descendant of the current patriarch of the Heavenly Phoenix clan. Moreover, the identity of the Phoenix Qilin was just like its name. Not only did it possess the pure bloodline of the Heavenly Phoenix clan, but it also possessed the bloodline of the Qilin clan. It could be said that he was a living being with two top-notch bloodlines. Moreover, according to rumors, he was highly valued by the elders of the Celestial Phoenix clan and the Qilin clan. He cultivated the innocuous cultivation technique of the two great clans, and his strength was far above the Phoenix Qilin plume. Feng Qilin is a higher chief god, but he once suppressed a godly king. What kind of battle prowess is this? He deserves to be called the heaven's pride of the younger generation in the great thousand world. Many people exclaimed in admiration, but there were also some who curled their lips and didn't care about Feng Qilin's identity. It was all because there were all kinds of strange things in the great thousand world, and there were many heaven's prides who were stronger than Feng Qilin. However, Feng Qilin was really something in the six realms. Let's not talk about hurting my two brothers for now, Longdade said coldly. Previously you wanted my other brother to join your Heavenly Phoenix clan? Why? You want to take him in as your subordinate? Your other brother? Feng Qilin Plume was stunned. That's him. Longdade pointed at Wakako and said, What are you thinking? Do you think my brothers are inferior to your Heavenly Phoenix clan? Are you trying to provoke us? Feng Qilin Plume was a little confused. He really didn't expect that this group of people in front of him were all together. Moreover, from the looks of it, they all seemed to have the same big brother, that Xian Godrealm youth. I just cherish talent and seek a way out for him, Feng Qilin Plume said. Feng Liling said, Everyone knows that the six realms are about to be destroyed. The only place you can go to is the Great Thousand World. The Great Thousand World is deep and complicated. The forces there are intricate and intertwined, and it won't treat the living beings of the 6 realms well. If no one protects you, you're destined to find it difficult to enter the Great Thousand World, and you might even die prematurely. Feng Qilin Plume's words were naturally correct, and it could be seen that this person would not lie. However, things were different now. That was because the 3 Vedanta had come today. Moreover, they already knew that the demon clan was different from the human clan. The demon clan was very united, and they especially valued ranks. As long as the 3 Vedanta entered the Great Thousand World, they would be able to obtain the protection of their respective clans, and even be respected as kings. Then, as long as they followed the 3 Vedanta into the Great Thousand World, what was there to worry about? With the protection of the Dragon Clan and the Vermilion Bird Clan, how could Wakako and the others not be able to do well in the Great Thousand World? It was all a misunderstanding before. We didn't suffer any losses, so let's drop the matter, okay? Feng Qilin said in a calm tone. It seemed that he did not want to cause trouble. However, the 3 Vedanta's confidence rose, and their tempers rose even more. Huan Dade and Niao Dade stood beside Long Dade, looking unhappy. As the leader of the 3 Vedanta, Long Dade naturally had to express his stance. He stared at Feng Qilin and said coldly, "Apologize to my brother. Fellow Taoist, you've gone too far." Feng Qilin's tone also turned cold as he said in a deep voice, "This place is very far from the Great Thousand World." As soon as he said that, the expressions of the surrounding people suddenly became solemn. It was obvious that Feng Qilin was warning Long Dade. It would take an entire month for an emperor to come from the Great Thousand World to the 6 realms. And it would take a month for the news here to spread back to the Great Thousand World. By the time the Dragon Clan and the Vermilion Bird Clan of the Great Thousand World knew that there were ancestral living beings in the 6 realms and sent people over, it would take 2 months for them to come and go. In these 2 months, Long Dade and the other 2 would not be protected. In these 2 months, not to mention that the 6 realms had long been destroyed, even if they were not, Feng Qilin was confident that he could kill Long Dade and the other 2. At that time, would the Dragon Clan and the Vermilion Bird Clan fight with the Heavenly Phoenix Clan for 3 dead people? That was obviously impossible. At that moment, the 3 Vedanta also came to their senses and knew that they had indeed been too arrogant. However, were they going to admit defeat just like that? I don't care if it's right or wrong. I only know one thing. My little brother feels wronged, so as his big brother, I have to stand up for him. At that moment, Jiangqin, who had been silent for a long time, suddenly spoke. He stepped out and slowly walked toward Feng Qilin. His eyes were full of fighting spirit, and his hair danced in the wind. There was a purple-gold light, an inextinguishable fire burning on his body. Chapter 1045. Everyone was stunned. A little Xian god cultivator dared to challenge Feng Qilin? He was courting death. However, the eyes of Long Dade and the rest were filled with excitement. They hadn't seen Jiangqin fight for a long time. "Boss is going to fight! Boss, go for it! Kill this little white bird!" Jiang Lu and the others were extremely excited. They didn't expect Jiangqin to lose to Feng Qilin. After all, in their hearts, Jiangqin was invincible. When the people around saw Jiang Lu and the others' attitude, they were all stunned. "Are you guys mistaken? Are you that confident in an Xian god cultivator?" Even Feng Qilin was speechless. Are all the living beings in the 6 realms so arrogant? He was a Lord God, and there was a gap of several realms between him and an Xian god. No matter how strong Jiangqin was, he couldn't fight against the Lord God, right? "Are you sure?" Feng Qilin frowned and looked at Jiangqin. "There is no fairness in this world. I am a few realms higher than you, and according to the rules I can't fight you. However, if you want to challenge me, I can accept the challenge. My little brother is wronged. Do you think I, as his big brother, can sit back and do nothing?" Jiangqin raised his eyebrows. "There is no fairness in this world. You don't have to suppress your realm when I fight with you. How arrogant! Where did he get his confidence from? An Xian God challenging a Lord God? Do you want to die? The people from the great wide world didn't think Jiang Chen would win. Some people even spoke directly and didn't hide their contempt. Fight! After a few breaths, Jiang Chen came close to Feng Qilin. He shouted, and the Emperor's vine stretched out behind him. On the vine that was as thick as a branch, an immortal bird was burning with flames. With a long cry, it seemed to break the sun. Dual Dao souls? Someone exclaimed. The 6 realms have given me many surprises. So what? Dual Dao souls are powerful, but the difference in cultivation is too big. At this moment, Feng Qilin didn't say anything. He stared at Jiang Chen, and after a few breaths, he suddenly attacked. Boom! The sound of air being torn apart rang out as Feng Qilin struck out with his palm, which transformed into a white phoenix claw. The phoenix claw struck out horizontally, causing space to shatter apart, and it even carried numerous divine Dao laws. Today, I'll test my combat strength, Jiang Chen murmured. His eyes flickered as he waved his hand. The Emperor's vines burst out and collided with the phoenix claws like purple golden swords. Boom! Successive explosions resounded out, and it was even more like the sound of steel colliding. The vine and phoenix claw collided, and it actually caused strands of sparks to erupt. This Dao soul. Emperor's vine? That's not right. Why do I feel like it's even stronger than the Emperor's vine? Many people were puzzled. Even if the Emperor's vine was a top-notch Dao soul, it could not possibly have such power. At this moment, Jiang Chen attacked again. The undying bird Dao soul turned into flames and engulfed the Phoenix Qilin like a tornado. Screech! Screech! 2 long cries suddenly erupted. Within the raging flames, the undying bird and a white phoenix were entangled in battle. The 2 of them tore at each other, and for a moment, they were actually neck and neck. So powerful! Is this really the strength of the abstruse god realm? Everyone exclaimed, and their faces were filled with disbelief. One had to know that the strength of a Dao soul was directly related to the strength of the original body. Jiang Chen's undying bird Dao soul was actually able to fight with the Phoenix Qilin's original body and was not at a disadvantage. From this, one could see that he indeed had the strength to fight against an over-god. As expected of boss. Abstruse god realm strength to fight against an over-god. If he wins, he will probably go down in history. Jiang Lu and the others exclaimed, and their eyes shone with excitement and burning admiration. Interesting, the Phoenix Qilin said softly, but he shook his head and said, It's a pity that your cultivation level is too low. Cultivation level is the standard of ordinary people, Jiang Chen said softly, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. He formed a seal with his hands and struck out a dragon fist. Boom! At that moment, everyone could vaguely see a winged dragon rising from Jiang Chen's spine and merging with the dragon fist, and the dragon's roar shook the sky. A terrifying dragon aura erupted, and the dragon aura's power was not weaker than long days. You have the dragon bloodline? The Phoenix Qilin exclaimed softly, but his expression did not change. White phoenix feathers appeared around him and shot out like sharp arrows. Boom! Explosions sounded, and the phoenix feathers were sharp and did not seem to be strong enough. However, when they encountered the pair of dragon fists, these seemingly indestructible phoenix feathers actually turned into misty rain and dissipated along with it. This time, the Phoenix Qilin's expression finally changed. His expression became serious, and he formed a seal with his hands, and a towering white flame fell from the sky. This was the true fire of the heavenly Phoenix tribe, and it was not weaker than the inextinguishable fire. That's it! Jiang Chen raised his eyebrows, and roses bloomed around him. Although he did not know what the roses were used for, Jiang Chen felt that they could be used. As expected, when the roses bloomed, wisps of divine light were emitted, and they actually extinguished the true fire of the heavenly Phoenix tribe. Moreover, under the roses that filled the sky, a tiger appeared. With a roar, it pounced toward the Phoenix Qilin like a tiger coming down from the mountain. Interesting. The power of dragon and tiger! The Phoenix Qilin's expression froze, and he retreated while forming a seal with both hands. In an instant, a phoenix phantom appeared on his left hand, and it turned into a fist aura. In his right hand, a Qilin took shape and turned into a palm print. A dragon and a tiger against a Qilin and a phoenix? This scene is really rare. Just as everyone exclaimed, the attacks of the four beasts collided. Unlike what everyone had imagined, Jiang Chen's dragon and tiger seemed indestructible. After a stalemate with the phoenix and the Qilin in the air, they actually crushed them. The Phoenix Qilin did not expect this, and he could not even react. He was directly hit by the fist aura and palm print formed by the dragon and tiger, and he was sent flying. However, he was a chief god after all, and his cultivation foundation was extremely deep. While flying backward, he forcefully stabilized his body, and then his body faded as if it had exploded. In an instant, the Phoenix Qilin turned into 9 figures, and each of them was forming a seal. That was the Tao technique of the Heavenly Phoenix tribe, Phoenix Spirit 9 kills. Previously, the Phoenix Qilin plume had used it, but it was not fully used. Furthermore, it was used one move after another. However, the Phoenix Qilin was different. He used his body as an incarnation and actually used all 9 moves of the Phoenix Spirit 9 kills at the same time. In an instant, the world was filled with dense killing intent, and there were even phoenix cries. It's time to test my combat strength. Jiang Chun was also a little nervous, but he was not afraid to fight. He formed a seal with both hands, and array patterns appeared. A barrier rose, and talismans scattered in front of him. In an instant, an obscure and complicated array formation formed and enveloped Jiang Chen. Chapter 1046. The array was formed, and the light screen was gorgeous. The runes and divine light coexisted, and it was extremely bright. It was as if the stars were hanging in the sky, and it was as if the sun and the moon were floating. The most brilliant light in the world was now on Jiang Chen. Such attainments in array formations. Amazing! There's such a cultivator in the 6 realms? Many people exclaimed, but they still didn't think highly of Jiang Chen. That was because Feng Qilin was too strong. Among the many geniuses in the boundless world, he could be ranked among the top. Boom! At that moment, 9 figures landed in the surroundings. They all used different moves, and each move was meant to kill. Feng Qilin's claws were like swords, sabers, and spears. They were even like a millstone that was rolling, wanting to crush everything. Amidst numerous explosions, the Phoenix Spirit 9 annihilation descended and blasted onto the formation. The array formation shook, and ripples spread out continuously. The runes and divine light of the array formation flickered and were constantly being destroyed. At that moment, Jiang Chen was standing in the array formation with a calm expression. A green lamp hung above his head. He was forming a seal. After 3 breaths, a part of the array formation was broken. At the same time, Jiang Chen formed a seal, and a sword ray burst out from his hand as if it was going to break through the 9 heavens. 10,000 transformations heavens slash. Boom! However, amidst an explosive bang, the sword light was swift and fierce, yet it merely annihilated 3 of the 9 Phoenix Spirit slaughters. Looking around, there were still 6 figures dancing around the array formation. Their killing moves were constantly approaching, and their killing intent was like a strong wind that swept out in all directions. Many people retreated. Even the godly kings were afraid and didn't dare to get too close to these 6 figures. He's defeated. Too arrogant. With the cultivation of a profound god, he wants to fight against a master god. Isn't that nonsense? Mocking and contemptuous voices rang out continuously. Even Jiang Lu and the others broke out in cold sweat for Jiang Chen. On the other hand, Jiang Chen's expression was still calm. His hands danced continuously, and he was still forming seals. As he continued to form seals, the flame in the myriad-change heavenly lamp became brighter and brighter. In the end, it was as if a bright sun was floating in the lamp. After 10 breaths of time, when the array formation was broken, Jiang Chen's seal was completely formed. At this moment, a heart-palpitating aura erupted from Jiang Chen's body. Endless battle intent flashed in his eyes. The green lamp shone brightly, and the flame gathered in front of him, finally turning into a solid longsword. In the next moment, Jiang Chen held the long sword in his hand and focused his gaze. With a wave of his hand, a sword aura that far exceeded that of the 10,000 transformations heavenly lamp shot out. Sword lights fluttered about as if they were boundless, and they were like 100 flowers blooming and falling. They instantly covered this expanse of the heavens and the earth. Boom! Immediately after, flowers bloomed and withered, and sword rays flashed. In just a few short breaths, the remaining 6 moves of the Phoenix Qilin were destroyed. At the same time, the sword beams that filled the sky merged into one. The long sword in Jiang Chen's hand blossomed with multicolored light, swallowing and spitting out sword beams. 10,000 swords open the heavens! At this moment, Jiang Chen roared. His hair danced in the wind as he struck out with his sword. In a daze, everyone seemed to see a hole being cut in the sky, and the vast Tao was rising and falling under this sword aura. Boom! The sword aura flashed by at an extremely fast speed. Before everyone could react, they saw the Phoenix Qilin's figure fly out. Blood splattered along the way, and half of his body split open. You are qualified to be my opponent! The Phoenix Qilin roared. The divine power in his body surged, and his injuries healed as he stabilized himself. However, just as he finished speaking, his expression suddenly changed greatly. This was because Jiang Chen had come up behind him without him noticing. I am qualified to be your opponent, then what about you? Are you qualified to be my opponent? Jiang Chen said softly. Then, in front of everyone, he struck out with his sword. However, in the end, the sword didn't strike down. Instead, it pressed against the Phoenix Qilin's glabella. At this moment, the Phoenix Qilin's life was in Jiang Chen's hands. Victory and defeat were already decided. The winner is the king, and the loser is the bandit. The Phoenix Qilin's expression was ugly. He never thought that he would lose to a profound god. However, he could afford to lose. Apologize to my brothers, and this matter will be settled, Jiang Chen said softly. I don't care who is right or wrong, I only care about my brothers. I will remember this matter, the Phoenix Qilin said coldly. Then, he looked at Long Dade and the others, cupped his hands, and bowed. Everyone, Feng Qilin, was wrong for what happened before. Does this guy really want to die? Forcing the Phoenix Qilin to apologize? This is a slap to the Sky Phoenix clan's face. However, I have to say that this guy is ridiculously strong. He actually defeated the overgod Phoenix Qilin with the cultivation of an profound god. Exclamations shook the sky. Many people were shocked. Even now, they couldn't believe that the Phoenix Qilin had lost. However, the truth was right in front of them, and they couldn't doubt it. Kill him! Kill! Suddenly, someone in the crowd shouted angrily. How dare a filthy creature from the burial ground ruin the reputation of the great thousand world? Kill! This furious roar was like a fuse that instantly ignited this place. The people who originally looked down on the creatures of the 6 realms attacked decisively at this moment, and charged toward Jiang Chen. You're on the opposite side after all, Jiang Chen said softly. He had already expected this. However, so what? He was fearless. Jiang Chen was invincible as long as he couldn't fight someone 2 levels above him. Moreover, he now understood that his combat strength was enough to suppress the overgods. I think all of you are courting death, Wakako shouted angrily. Purple energy erupted from his body like a king, and his domineering aura soared into the sky. All of you, retreat! Jiang Chen shouted with a hint of mockery on his face. Today, I'll let you know that although the 6 realms are going to be destroyed, the living beings will not. You're dead meat. You're just an ant. At this moment, thousands of cultivators attacked, and all of them rushed toward Jiang Qin. You're bullying my master like this. Have you asked for my permission? At this moment, Bai Fingyu's eyes flashed with a trace of fierceness. The power of the great moon body erupted, and with a gentle wave of her snow-white hand, a snow-white battle suit covered Jiang Chen's body. At the same time, Hua Lianyi also attacked. The power of the All-Spirit's sacred body erupted, and she summoned the power of an ancient battle spirit to support Jiang Chen. Master, I haven't danced for you in a long time. Nayland Mayer looked charming. Then, under the horrified gaze of everyone, she started a battle dance. This feeling. At this moment, Jiang Chen had a strange expression. With the great moon battle suit, the power of the battle spirit, and the support of the battle dance, he felt invincible. Do whatever you want, I'm invincible. Jiang Chen roared, like a fierce tiger coming down from the mountain. Facing thousands of cultivators from the great thousand domains, he didn't retreat. Instead, he charged forward. Master, you're invincible. We're only responsible for being beautiful. Nayland Mayer looked charming, and her dance was even more moving. Many people were stunned. Chapter 1047. Since people who were 2 levels higher could not fight, this battle was not stressful for Jiang Chen at all. Moreover, now that his 3 disciples had made a move, 3 types of power were added to his body, making him look invincible. Just like that, Jiang Chen charged into the crowd. He did not even bother to use his divine skills and Tao skills. He punched a child one by one. In just a dozen breaths of time, more than 500 people were beaten down. In the end, the remaining group of people did not dare to move and retreated into the distance. This person is really worthy of being their boss, Feng Linling praised. Although he had lost face in front of Long Dade and the others, he did not lie and did not go against his heart. Feng Qilin was the same. He kept nodding and said, if this person enters the great wide world and does not die prematurely, he will definitely become a great person. The 6 realms are destined to be destroyed. If this person grows up in the future, and wants to take revenge on the great wide world, it will not be easy to deal with him. Feng Linling frowned. They could all see that Jiang Chen, the profound god, was really invincible. If such a person grew up and took revenge on the great wide world in the future, the consequences would be very serious. Those demons can't be killed, but he... Feng Qilin whispered. He won't be able to live. It's a pity that a genius is destined to not be able to leave the 6 realms alive. Feng Linling sighed. He really cherished talents. If he had not had a conflict with Long Dade and the other 2, he could have accepted Jiang Chen. As long as the Heavenly Phoenix clan was willing to help Jiang Chen would naturally be able to survive. Of course, that was what they thought. As for what would happen to Jiang Chen in the future, no one would have thought. At this moment, Jiang Chen had a teasing look on his face. He glanced at the people around him and said, Is it over? You, how did you cultivate? How can a profound god have such strong combat power? This is too terrifying. This is too ridiculous. Many people felt bitter in their hearts. They had never thought that there would be such a monster in the 6 realms. Even in the Great Thousand World, such a genius would still be a top-notch existence. However, there were also people who sneered. Although they could not defeat Jiang Chen, there were countless geniuses in the Great Thousand World who could deal with Jiang Chen. Moreover, that group of people were most likely on their way here. This kid. Over 800 points. At this moment, in the outer realm, the Buddha-Arch was staring at the stone tablet in front of him. At the top of the tablet was Jiang Chen's name and portrait. Below his name, the words 869 were displayed in large font. This meant that other than himself, Jiang Chen could keep 868 people alive. Are the cultivators of the Great Thousand World too weak, or is this guy ridiculously strong? The Buddha-Arch mumbled, somewhat dumbfounded. I've seen a lot of people like this. How powerful are they on the path of cultivation? But in the end, how many of them can stand at the same height as us? Most of them have died prematurely. Another emperor said indifferently. It's just over 800 points. So what if all 800 of them survive? They have no foundation when they enter the great thousand world. They will be ostracized or even die prematurely. In response, the Buddha-dharch frowned, seemingly dissatisfied with the words of these emperors. As emperors, what we say is the law. Naturally, we have to keep our word. The Buddha-dharch said. When the living beings of the 6 realms enter the great thousand world, we have to arrange a place for them to stay. Master, you're right. We're ignorant. The other 5 emperors nodded in agreement. Obviously, the Buddha Thearka's position among these emperors was not ordinary. At this moment, on the Chang'an plains, the group of people stopped. This was because there were changes in the Chang'an ancient ruins. The stone door cracked, and an ancient but majestic aura spread out from the stone door. Boom! Boom! Vaguely, everyone seemed to hear an army of thousands of men and horses rushing out from behind the stone door. What's inside? Jiang Chen asked. My soldiers. Nian Chang'e smiled and said, whether the world is in chaos or not, I, Chang'an, have the final say. This is not a casual remark. Back then, those who witnessed the chaotic era understood that once I, the Chang'an ancestor, appear, the world's chaos will be 70% mine. F***ck. Jiang Chen cursed and stared at Nian Chang'e with a strange expression. You plan to bring chaos to the world? Why not? Nian Chang'e asked. One had to know that the world was already chaotic enough. The living beings of the netherworld stepped into the world of the living, and the great thousand world descended into the 6 realms. Even the eternal fortress might not be able to stop it. At that time, the netherworld, the great thousand world, and the living beings of the other realms would all descend. How could the last realm of the 6 realms not be chaotic? Since it was going to be chaotic and destroyed, it was better to start it personally. Once, a great sage deduced that the 6 realms would indeed be destroyed. This is a reincarnation, Nian Chang'e said. However, just as the great sage deduced, destruction does not mean extinction. This is just a reincarnation. After the reincarnation, the 6 realms will be rebuilt, and we only need to go with the flow. At some point in the future, the 6 realms are destined to return. Speaking of this, Nian Chang'e smiled and said, now is the last time we will stay in the 6 realms. During this time, what we need to do is to fight for resources. When the 6 realms are destroyed, everything will cease to exist. Before that, we should try our best to collect cultivation resources. When the time comes, we will have a foothold in the great thousand world, right? Jiang Chen's eyes lit up when he heard this. He secretly thought that Nian Chang'e, who was usually simple and honest, was very meticulous in his thinking. At the same time, a glimmer of hope appeared in Jiang Chen's heart. The destruction of the 6 realms might be temporary. Perhaps, as the great sage deduced, the 6 realms would be rebuilt at a certain point in time and would return. Those who are not involved should quickly disperse. The treasures here will be controlled by the great thousand world. At this moment, a divine master expert spoke. His attitude was very tough. He even joined forces with a few other divine masters and divine kings to expel the creatures of the 6 realms with terrifying pressure. Divine Master. I can't stop them. Jiang Chen's face was gloomy. He looked at Nian Chang'e and asked, you're also a divine master, but can you stop so many people? I can't stop them. Nian Chang'e said directly with a trace of cunning in his eyes, but why should I stop them? After that, Nian Chang'e nodded at Jiang Chen and the others and said, let's go. We'll watch the show later. Jiang Chen did not ask any more questions. In the end, the group left and retreated into the distance. However, the 3 great virtuous beings stayed. They relied on their race's identity and insisted on getting a share of the pie here. This made the experts of the great thousand world feel quite helpless. They could only nod and agree. When the time came, it would not hurt to share some with the 3 great virtuous beings. Chapter 1048. The stone door of the Chang'an ancient ruins finally cracked open. For a moment, it was as if thousands of soldiers and horses were rushing out of the stone door. The sound of horse hooves and soldiers' roars were deafening. At that moment, the group of people surrounding the ancient ruins looked excited. They had learned that there was a great power hidden in the Chang'an ancient ruins. However, in the next moment, when the things rushed out of the ancient ruins, the group of people was dumbfounded. Even the godly venerable experts felt their scalps go numb at that moment. They ran away without looking back. That was because what rushed out of the stone door was a group of skeletons. Upon closer inspection, each skeleton was shining with divine light. They held spears in their hands, and the skeletal horses under their feet neighed. The strong murderous aura was like a dark cloud, covering half of the sky. The most shocking thing was that there were more than 30 skeletons in this group of skeletons, and each of them had the cultivation of an ungodly venerable. Upon closer inspection, the leader of the skeletons exuded an aura that had reached the level of an emperor god. He was only one step away from becoming an emperor. This is a group of... What? A group of undead warriors! The crowd exclaimed. Some of them were already lifted up by a bone spear and hung in the air, dead. Run! This is a trap! It was only then that the crowd realized that the so-called Chang'an ancient ruins was a trap. What was hidden in this place was not a treasure, but a group of skeletal generals with extremely high cultivation levels. Are these your soldiers? Jiangchen stood in the distance, staring at Nian Chang'e with a strange expression. I spent a lot of effort on them. Nian Chang'e smiled. This is my foundation, my soldiers. They are all from the Chang'an clan. After death, they are willing to be bones to protect Chang'an forever, said Nian Chang'e. After that, he waved his hand and shouted, Generals, listen to my order! Yes, sir! Yes, sir! In an instant, a deafening roar came from the skeletal warriors. They lined up neatly, and their hollow eyes looked at Nian Chang'e in unison. Kill! Nian Chang'e's eyes suddenly turned cold and murderous. He said, Let the creatures of the vast thousand worlds know that even if the 6 realms are about to be destroyed, I, Chang'an, have the final say in the chaos of the world. Yes! At this moment, the 30 or so skeletal warriors roared, their skeletal horses neighed, and the spears in their hands burst forth with boundless sharpness. More than 30 of them charged forward like an army. In just a short moment, they had killed thousands of cultivators from the greater thousand worlds. As for the godly kings, supreme gods, and even godly emperors, they did not dare to fight back and retreated far away. Their eyes were filled with shock and murderous intent. No one would have thought that in the 9 heavens divine world, in the so-called Chang'an ancient ruins, there was actually such a group of strong cultivators. They don't have spirituality and are like walking corpses. They only listen to him. Someone noticed something and stared at Nian Chang'e. Then, a godly emperor rushed over with boundless light. When he pointed his finger, it was like a bolt of lightning. Nian Chang'e's expression turned serious. He grabbed Jiangchen and the rest and directly escaped into the void. After all, that was an godly emperor-level cultivator. No matter how strong Nian Chang'e was, it was difficult for him to compete with an ungodly emperor. Not long after he retreated, the skeletal warriors also escaped into the void and disappeared in a few breaths' time. At this moment, near the Chang'an ancient ruins, blood flowed like a river and corpses were everywhere. Have you seen the emperors of the extraterritorial regions? The people of the divine world are persecuting us. Please help us, emperors of the extraterritorial regions. At this moment, many creatures from the vast thousand world shouted, their voices shaking the heavens. The Buddhist Arch and the rest in the extraterritorial regions also saw the massacre with their own eyes. They thought that the people of the divine world had broken the rules. You can't fight those 2 levels above you. You've gone too far. One of the emperors shouted angrily. An emperor's aura filled the air as if it was going to crush the extraterritorial regions. There was even an emperor who rushed toward the divine world. He wanted to find the skeletal warriors and kill them. However, The moment he entered the divine world, Jiang Chen's expression suddenly changed. He had been carrying Huang Tian's coffin with him all this time. He had only used a special ability to shrink it and put it in his sleeve. At this moment, with the arrival of the Emperor, there was a fluctuation in the sky-burying coffin. "I have something to do. You guys go to the Nine Skies court and wait for me." Jiang Chen did not want to expose himself, so he turned and ran into the distance. Jiang Lu and the rest did not ask why. In their hearts, it was fine as long as they trusted Jiang Chen unconditionally. Nian Chang'e was deep in thought. He raised his head and looked at the Emperor who had entered the divine world. A trace of mockery appeared at the corner of his mouth, and he said, "This? I'm afraid he's here to die." Boom! After a dozen breaths' time, an ecliptic light shot into the sky. A man shrouded in ecliptic chi appeared. Without saying a word, he slapped toward the Emperor. "It's you again!" The Emperor was shocked. He had seen this person's strength before. Not daring to face him head-on, he hurriedly retreated into the distance. Unfortunately, Jiang Chen, now possessed by the power of the yellow heavens, moved with incredible speed. Not only did he catch up to his opponent, but he also punched him, shattering his opponent's fleshly body. What? The Emperor of the Great Thousand Domains had his body shattered? No way! How could there be such an expert in the divine world? This scene was witnessed by many people. In particular, when they saw the Emperor's body shatter with a single punch, the beings from the Great Thousand Domains were shocked. In their eyes, cultivators from the Great Thousand Domains were stronger than those from the Six Realms. The Emperor of the Great Thousand Domains was the true invincible Emperor. Who would have thought that the invincible Emperor would be unable to withstand a single punch from the mysterious Emperor of the divine world? The divine world made an exception first. At this moment, the Emperor had rebuilt his body. His face was full of anger, but he did not dare to attack. He flew into the outer realm without looking back. At the same time, the Buddhist Emperor and the others were waiting for him in the outer realm. What exception? That's a divine ability of the divine world's cultivators, Jiang Chen whispered. Standing in the outer realm, he looked at the Buddhist Emperor and the others and said, "You emperors can't sit still after seeing your own disciples killed? Fellow Taoists, we've already agreed that those 2 levels above them are not allowed to fight." The Buddhist Emperor formed a Buddhist seal and said slowly, "Those skeletal warriors killed true gods and profound gods. This is indeed a violation of the rules. That's because the cultivators of your Great Thousand Domains are too weak." Jiang Chen retorted. "I said, that's a divine ability of the divine world. This isn't an exception. You're twisting words and forcing logic." The Emperor whose body had been shattered by Jiang Chen rebuked angrily. "Are we blind? Even the weakest of those skeletal warriors was a supreme god." Chapter 1049. Nian Chang'e's troops had slaughtered a group of cultivators from the boundless world. From the true gods to the divine kings, there were many casualties. This action was undoubtedly a violation of the rules. However, at this moment, Jiang Chen's attitude was very firm. He denied that this was not a violation of the rules. This was a divine secret skill. He even tried to defend himself by saying that the master of those skeletal warriors was only at the profound god level. He is a Xian god. Because he has mastered a secret skill, he can control the skeletal warriors. Jiang Chen explained. This is a divine secret skill. It is not a violation of the rules. Don't quibble. Do you think we are stupid? Or do you think we are blind? The group of emperors shouted angrily. They stood outside the realm and faced off against Jiang Chen, who was inside the realm. What's wrong with these lords? Why aren't they attacking? What's going on? Why are the 6 emperors related to the emperor of the divine realm? Many people were confused because they had seen Jiang Chen's strength. At this moment, the Buddha the Arch and the others were having a headache. They knew how terrifying Jiang Chen was. Even if the 6 of them worked together, they might not be able to kill him. Moreover, the destruction of the 6 realms was inevitable. They were not in a hurry. There was no need to make things difficult for Jiangchen. After all, once they fought, they might die if they were not careful. Fellow cultivator, in your opinion, how should we solve this matter? The Buddha-Dharch asked. Just let it go, Jiangchen said unhappily. How do you want to solve it? Let it go just like that. You killed so many cultivators from the boundless world and you just let it go like that? At this moment, the emperors were unhappy. Although in their eyes, all living things were ants, as emperors, they had already transcended. However, those cultivators were living things from the boundless world. So many of them had died at once. To the emperors, it was not their lives that had died, but the face of the boundless world. Fellow cultivator, to be reasonable, you are indeed in the wrong. The Buddha-Dharch frowned and said, There should be some compensation, right? Oh? What kind of compensation? Jiangchen asked. Don't tell me I want you to kill your way back? The Buddha-Dharcha's face fell. For a moment, he didn't know how to make up for it. At this moment, a stream of light flew from below and landed beside Jiangchen in the blink of an eye. Taking a closer look, this was a woman, and her cultivation was also in the imperial realm. The moment Jiangchen saw this woman, he couldn't help but be stunned, as if he was very surprised. My master said that this matter is over. At this moment, the woman's expression was cold as she said, If you don't want to settle this and want compensation, I don't mind exchanging blows with you. How presumptuous! Are you people from the 6 realms also unreasonable? Too arrogant. Don't think that we won't dare to make a move. The emperors shouted angrily. Their auras exploded as if they were about to attack. The Buddha-Dharch hurriedly intervened. With a face full of smiles, he said, Everyone, let's forget about it. Master, this matter, are we really going to let it go just like that? How can we just let it go like this? The other emperors were furious. They secretly wondered if the master was muddle-headed. Or was he terrified? However, when they thought of the Buddha-Dharcha's power, they were confused. They knew that the Buddha-Dharch was very powerful. Even if he had been beaten up by Jiangchen before, there was no doubt about his power. Therefore, such a powerful Buddha-Dharch naturally wouldn't admit defeat. Now, since he had admitted defeat, there must be a reason. We will listen to the master. In the end, the emperors took a step back. However, they also warned Jiangchen, asking the cultivators of the realm of gods to be careful. There mustn't be a next time. Jiangchen naturally agreed. However, as for whether there would be a next time, Jiangchen couldn't be bothered to guarantee. Then, the Buddha-Dharch and the rest retreated far away and stood in the depths of the realm of gods. The power in Jiangchen's body was also gradually weakening. Soon, the power disappeared and brought Jiangchen to a canyon. As soon as he returned, Jiangchen kept the sky-burying coffin and observed his surroundings like a thief. After making sure that no one had discovered him, he heaved a sigh of relief. However, all of a sudden, a figure appeared in front of Jiangchen. This person was the female emperor just now. Master, how long has it been since we last met? Do you still remember me? The woman smiled. She had actually chased Jiangchen all the way here. Moreover, looking at her, she should know about the matter of Jiangchen using the power of Huang Tian. Godless Continent, Mu Clan, the 9th Princess. Jiangchen raised his eyebrows and said, I almost forgot about you. Master, even if you have forgotten about me, I can't forget about you. The 9th Princess squinted her eyes and then suddenly smiled. She revealed an obedient and cute look and said, Master, did you miss me? Jiangchen was stunned. To be honest, if he had not met the 9th Princess today, he would have really forgotten that he had such a disciple. Back then, when Jiangchen met the 9th Princess in the Godless Continent, he was wary of her. It was all because the 9th Princess was a reincarnation stowaway. At that time, Jiangchen had his own plans. He had made a contract with the 9th Princess and accepted her as his disciple. However, after that, the two of them rarely contacted each other. It was all because Jiangchen knew that if he had too much contact with a reincarnation stowaway, he might bring misfortune to himself. As time passed, Jiangchen forgot that he had such a disciple. Now, he did not expect that the 9th princess, whom he had not seen for a long time, was now an emperor. "Why did you suddenly come to find me?" Jiangchen asked. Jiangchen did not treat the 9th princess as a disciple from the bottom of his heart. He knew that the 9th princess had an extraordinary identity. Not only was she a reincarnation stowaway, she probably had another identity. After all, Jiangchen had accepted the 9th princess as his disciple because of some small considerations. He had thought that the two of them would never cross paths again in this life. He did not expect to meet her today. "Master, when you accepted me as your disciple, we are master and disciple." The 9th princess smiled and said, "Then, as your disciple, now that I have encountered difficulties, I naturally have to look for you, my master." As soon as she said that, Jiang Chen's expression suddenly froze. He stared at the 9th princess and asked, "You've been found?" "Yes." The smile on the 9th princess' face suddenly disappeared when she heard that. She said in a deep voice, "After my cultivation was restored, the reincarnation hunters found me. Now, I'm considered to be running away." "No way? You are now an emperor. Why would you be afraid of those reincarnation hunters?" Jiangchen exclaimed. One must know that in the eyes of the world, an emperor was invincible and surpassed everything. Although the reincarnation hunters were mysterious, they could not compete with an emperor, right? Then, why did the 9th princess, as an emperor, have to run away in the face of the reincarnation hunters? Does everyone still remember the 9th princess? If you don't remember, you can go back and read the chapter about 385. It was time to fill in the hole that he had dug previously. Chapter 1050. An emperor of a generation was actually running for her life, and the person chasing her was not even an emperor. If this matter were to spread, not many people would believe it. However, this was the truth. The 9th princess, as an emperor, was indeed being hunted. At the same time, in the outer realm, the Buddha-Dharch frowned as if something was bothering him. The other emperors were also confused. They did not know why the Buddha-Dharch had admitted defeat earlier. "She seems to be a reincarnation stowaway." After a few breaths, the Buddha-Dharch said in a low voice, "Didn't you notice it just now? That female emperor has the mark of a reincarnation hunter." "What? Reincarnation stowaway? Wasn't reincarnation broken a long time ago? Since the collapse of the ancient netherworld, reincarnation has stopped," everyone exclaimed. Obviously, they knew some ancient history. Moreover, they knew about the ancient netherworld. Perhaps the 6 realms are really different from the greater 1,000 realms. The Buddha-Dharch said in a low voice. "As far as I know, there are few living beings who reincarnate in the 6 realms. There is even a living being who reincarnated several times. In the greater 1,000 realms, it is impossible to reincarnate once, let alone several times. Since the collapse of the ancient netherworld, reincarnation has been broken. No one can reincarnate." Then, here was the question. Why could the living beings of the 6 realms reincarnate? And some could reincarnate several times? And why couldn't the living beings of the greater 1,000 realms reincarnate? Could it be that there was another path of reincarnation in the 6 realms? Let's not talk about this first. About the reincarnation hunter, what do you think? The Buddha-Dharch asked. As soon as he said this, the other 5 emperors fell silent. There was even a hint of fear in their eyes. Even if they were emperors, after hearing the words reincarnation hunter, they were filled with fear and even fear. This was because they knew very well what kind of power was behind the reincarnation hunter. That power was truly indestructible and had existed since time immemorial. That power was very large. Not only did it have bases in the 6 realms, but it also had several bases in the greater 1,000 realms. Once there was a top power in the greater 1,000 realms that had a conflict with that power. In the end, that top power gathered all the experts, a total of 6 emperors, and 13 emperors, to attack the reincarnation hunters' forces. But in the end, that peak power was destroyed in a single day. Those 6 monarchs had fallen, and the 13 god emperors had perished. Since then, more and more people knew about the power of the Samsara hunters. At the same time, they also knew their name, the Night Watchers. Of course, more people called them hunters. However, the real name of the organization was the Night Watchers. In the end, someone flipped through a large number of ancient books to search for information about this Night Watcher and really found a clue. According to the ancient records, the Night Watchers originated from the primordial era, and they were an existence that existed in the same era as the ancient Hell. Furthermore, the Night Watchers seemed to have an unusual relationship with the ancient underworld. The most frightening thing was that no one had ever seen the higher-ups of the Night Watchers. The Night Watchers that the world saw were all walking corpses that were controlled by others. They were the reincarnation hunters. As for the real Night Watchers, no one had ever seen them. Someone had deduced that the real Night Watchers were so strong that they had already transcended the shackles of the world. The aura of a reincarnation hunter on that woman is very strong. I'm afraid she has already been targeted. We'd better not have too much contact with her to avoid unnecessary trouble, the Buddhadarch said in a low voice. Reincarnation hunters can hunt emperors? Someone asked. What do you think? The Buddhadarch said softly. There were records that reincarnation hunters had hunted emperors before. And they had succeeded. That is a group of walking corpses. Their strength cannot be measured by the eyes of ordinary people. Furthermore, it is said that every reincarnation hunter has mastered the power of reincarnation. You cannot underestimate them, the Buddhadarch said. The power of reincarnation, that kind of power, other than the ancient Hell, which other living beings in this world have mastered it. Everyone was puzzled and even more shocked. At the same time, they felt that the 6 realms, which were much smaller than the Great Thousand Realms, might be more complicated than the Great Thousand Realms. At the same time, Jiangchen stared at the 9th princess and frowned. He asked, How do you want me to help you? Previously, I thought of asking you to use the 1,000 Transformations heavenly lamp to help me remove the aura on my body. This way I can hide, the 9th princess said in a low voice. Then, without waiting for Jiangchen to speak, she shook her head and said, But if you do this, it will be very disadvantageous to you. How is it disadvantageous to me? Jiangchen asked. To Jiangchen, using the 1,000 Transformations heavenly lamp to remove a person's aura was very simple. It was as easy as lifting a finger. What is your identity? Don't you know it in your heart? The 9th princess rolled her eyes and said unhappily, Don't tell me you really think that you are a normal reincarnator? Let me tell you, since the collapse of the ancient Hell, there are not many normal reincarnators in this world. Moreover, someone like you who has been reincarnated for several lifetimes. Hearing this, Jiangchen's expression froze. He pointed at himself and asked, I am also a stowaway? What else? The 9th princess said softly. She held her head and said with a slight headache, You have not been discovered because the 1,000 Transformations heavenly lamp has protected you. Unless you give me the 1,000 Transformations heavenly lamp. Otherwise, just by removing my aura, I am afraid that it can only protect me for a while, the 9th princess said. However, at this point, the 9th princess suddenly laughed. This was because after she met Jiangchen, she realized that things were not as bad as she thought. To her, it was simply a rescue from a hopeless situation. Now there is still a way, the 9th princess said. You are my disciple after all. If there is anything, just say it. Jiangchen sighed. Let me enter the sky-burying coffin, and I will be safe. The 9th princess explained. The sky-burying coffin is a place where the heavens are buried. It isolates all the aura and karma of the world. If I hide in it, I am sure that the reincarnation hunters will not be able to find me. That is the coffin where Huang Tian is buried. If you lie in it, are you sure that nothing will happen? Jiangchen was a little hesitant. He was worried that something big would happen. After all, The energy within Huang Tian's corpse had been constantly going berserk throughout this period of time. This proved that Huang Tian's corpse still possessed intelligence. If the ninth princess entered the sky-burying coffin and caused changes to Huang Tian's corpse, the consequences would be very serious. Master, are you going to leave me in the lurch? The ninth princess blinked her beautiful eyes. She looked weak and her eyes were watery. Go in and try. If anything happens to Huang Tian's corpse, come out immediately. That is the corpse of the heavens. Don't be careless, Jiangchen said in a low voice. Chapter 1051. In the end, the ninth princess entered the sky-burying coffin. She planned to hide for a while until she suppressed the aura of the reincarnation hunter's mark on her. After that, Jiangchen returned to the Nine Skies Imperial Court. As soon as he returned, Jiangchen felt that the atmosphere in the Imperial Court was not right. Tianzhong, what's going on? Jiangchen found Zhou Tianzhong and found that he looked a little nervous and even a little sad. Little sister, she. Zhou Tianzhong opened his mouth but did not finish his sentence. Instead, he sighed heavily. Jiangchen's expression froze when he heard that. He hurriedly rushed to the back mountain of the Nine Skies Imperial Court, and into Old Zhou's residence. Old Zhou, little Xia, she. As soon as he entered the cave, Jiangchen hurriedly asked. He looked around but did not see Zhou Tianzhong's figure. Sigh. Old Zhou sighed. His eyes were a little cloudy. After not seeing him for a few days, he seemed to have aged a lot. He slowly got up, his steps were a little shaky, and his hair was a little white. He walked to a box that was taller than a person. He reached out his skinny hand and touched it gently. It can't be. Jiangchen squinted his eyes and stared at the box, which was as tall as a man. He sensed it carefully, and to his surprise he detected the energy of Zhou Tian. Could it be? The Pingtian clan did their best, but that was a greedy ghost after all. Old Zhou sighed. Little Xia is gone. It's the only one left. Jiangchen did not believe it. He had always thought that the Pingtian clan's foundation and strength were enough to save Zhou Tianzhong. He took a step forward and opened the box. Instantly, an extremely violent murderous aura erupted from the box. Jiangchen stared and did not move at all. The ever-changing heavenly lamp burned brightly and neutralized most of the murderous aura. Then, Jiangchen looked at the box. There was no corpse of Zhou Tianzhong in the box. There was only a blood-red saber covered in obscure patterns. The saber's handle was 7 inches long and covered in black skull talismans. It seemed to be suppressing the ghosts. The blade was blood-red in color and was engraved with red runes. It was 5 inches long and emitted a murderous aura. 5 feet and 7 inches, a greedy ghost who kills hundreds of people. Jiangchen whispered. There was guilt and sadness in his eyes. He knew that the Nine Heavens realm had disappeared. She wasn't dead, she was devoured by a greedy ghost. His physical body had fused with the greedy ghost. Perhaps the soul of the Nine Heavens was inside this greedy ghost, but his body was no longer there. Is there no way to save him? Jiangchen asked. Even with the Emperor's means, he can't be saved? Since ancient times, he was the #1 greedy ghost in terms of killing. He was born to kill. This is the most powerful Tao of killing. Even emperors can't go against the Tao. Old Ninth sighed. His old eyes were cloudy, and there was a trace of sorrow and helplessness. Emperors, in the eyes of the world, were synonymous with invincibility. In the eyes of the world, as long as the emperor made a move, there was nothing that was impossible. But who would have thought that even the emperor would feel helpless? You didn't see the moment she disappeared. Her face was full of longing for this world. Old Ninth whispered. The face of the Nine Heavens remained in his mind. She was born a queen, the princess of the Nine Heavens dynasty. But when she was born, her fate was determined. The greedy ghost is destined to be unable to escape this disaster. Old Ninth whispered and stroked the greedy ghost. His eyes were full of kindness. He sealed the greedy ghost and calmed the murderous intent inside. But so what? She disappeared. She couldn't come back. Jiangchen felt even more guilty. He blamed himself. If the Nine Heavens realm didn't help him, she wouldn't have been poisoned and lost her memories. If she wasn't poisoned, her body wouldn't be so weak. The dust on the greedy ghost wouldn't have disappeared so early. At least, the Nine Heavens realm could have lived longer. Is there really no way to save her? Jiangchen sighed again. The world was unpredictable. Who would have thought that the little witch would end up like this? Maybe there's still hope. Just as the two of them were feeling sad, the voice of the ninth princess suddenly rang out. Then, she separated a strand of spiritual will and turned it into a shadow. She appeared before Old Ninth. Her physical body is gone, but her soul should still be here. She should be sealed in the greedy ghost. She's muddle-headed and can't wake up, the ninth princess said. If her soul can break free from the greedy ghost's shackles, when she wakes up, she might be able to break free from the shackles. By then, with her soul, we can help her rebuild her physical body. For an emperor, this is a piece of cake. Hearing this, Jiangchen and Old Ninth's eyes flashed with hope. But then, the two of them felt hopeless. Because the greedy ghost's shackles weren't that easy to break free from. Back then, there was an Almighty who wanted to completely destroy the greedy ghost so that it couldn't be born again. But what happened in the end? The greedy ghost still existed. This kind of Tao soul couldn't be destroyed. Its blade was very strong and was a part of the Tao. Then, if one wanted to save the souls of the Nine Heavens from the greedy ghost, they had to break the greedy ghost. But who could do it? Even an emperor's full-strength attack couldn't break the greedy ghost at all. It was like a cage that couldn't be destroyed. And the souls of the Nine Heavens trapped in the greedy ghost had no hope of being born. The blade of the greedy ghost is a part of the Tao. If you want to break the blade, you have to break the Tao first, the ninth princess explained. And breaking the Tao is very difficult even for an emperor. Unless you surpass the emperor and take that crucial step. Since ancient times, how many people can break the shackles? The emperor is the top. Old Ninth sighed. Although the emperor is above the Tao, he can't break the Tao. In the end, Xiao Xia still can't come out. That's not necessarily true. The ninth princess smiled and said, if the power of the greedy ghost surpasses the Tao, then do you think the Tao will bless it? Without the blessing of the Tao, how can the greedy ghost not be broken? Hearing this, Jiangchen's eyes flashed with a trace of thought. He seemed to understand that if he wanted to break the greedy ghost, he had to make it stronger. When the greedy ghost surpassed the Tao, abandoned the Tao, and lost the power of the Tao, then it would be the time to break the greedy ghost. However, the greedy ghost was the most terrifying Tao spirit in the world. Who would be willing to control it? If one was careless, they would suffer a backlash. What's more, they had to nurture the greedy ghost. Wasn't this a joke with their own lives? If someone can refine the greedy ghost into a Tao affirmation item, then when they affirm their Tao in the future, they might be able to sublimate the greedy ghost and surpass the Tao. The ninth princess said, it's just that. I don't think anyone would be willing to use the greedy ghost as their Tao affirmation item. After all, it's too dangerous. If I hadn't become an emperor, I would be willing, Old Ninth said in a deep voice. Unfortunately, after becoming an emperor, he already had his own Tao affirmation item. However, a person could only have one Tao affirmation item in their lifetime. Chapter 1052. Everyone knew that things that were too hard were easy to break. This was the case for the life-greedy ghost. If it was strong enough, it would definitely break free from the shackles and blessings of the Tao. By then, without the blessings of the Tao, its body would be as fragile as a piece of paper. However, who would be willing to use the life-greedy ghost as their item of Tao? Moreover, once the life-greedy ghost broke free from the shackles of the Tao in the future, it would shatter and release the souls of the Nine Heavens. This was equivalent to their item of Tao, and it would definitely be destroyed in the future. In this way, no one in this world would be willing to use the life-greedy ghost as their item of Tao. This happened because of me. This life-greedy ghost. Leave it to me. At this moment, Jiangchun grabbed the life-greedy ghost. Before the ninth sister and the ninth princess could react, a drop of blood essence formed a contract with the life-greedy ghost. Are you crazy? The ninth princess exclaimed. She only told them how to save the ninth princess. She did not intend to let Jiangchun use the life-greedy ghost as his item of Tao. One had to know that the item of Tao was the carrier of one's own Tao. It could be said that it was another person. In the future, if the life-greedy ghost was destroyed, Jiangchen's own Tao would also collapse. At best, he would be seriously injured. At worst, he would die. There's no need to say more. Jiangchen waved his hand. His face was a little pale, and a trace of ruthless killing intent appeared in the depths of his eyes. He had merged with the life-greedy ghost through the contract. Now, his soul and Tao were merging with the life-greedy ghost. The killing intent in the life-greedy ghost filled Jiangchen's entire body and even every part of his soul. Do you want to die? The ninth princess said in a low voice. The life-greedy ghost is the ultimate Tao soul in the world. It shouldn't exist in the first place. So what? Jiangchen gritted his teeth. The killing intent filled his soul, making him feel like he was going to go berserk. Everything has a cause and effect. Moreover, after Xiao Xia lost her memory, she acknowledged me as her master. It's reasonable for me to save her, Jiangchen said in a low voice. The ninth princess's face turned ugly when she heard this. She was a reincarnation stowaway, and now that she had awakened, she knew Jiangchen's identity. If something really happened to such a person, it would have a huge impact on the karma of the later generations. However, Jiangchen had already made a contract with greed, and it could not be changed. Can you withstand the killing intent of the greedy ghost? Old Ninth asked in a deep voice. It has to be said that the killing intent of this greedy ghost could be said to be unsolvable. Even if an emperor were to fuse with it, they would still suffer a backlash from the killing intent. At this moment, they could see that Jiangchen's condition was very bad. His face was red, his hair was red, and his eyes were filled with boundless killing intent. He seemed to be about to be devoured by the greedy ghost. Transform! At this moment, Jiangchen formed a series of hand seals with both of his hands. He wanted to use the myriad transformations heavenly lamp and the 3 strands of chaotic chi to dispel the greedy ghost's killing intent. However, the greedy ghost's killing intent was formed by the great Tao. Moreover, the myriad transformations heavenly lamp had not advanced yet, so how could it compete with the killing intent of the great Tao? As for the chaotic chi, it did not seem to eliminate the killing intent, so there was no change. Jiangchen was stunned. This result was completely out of his expectations. He originally thought that with the myriad transformations heavenly lamp and the 3 strands of chaotic chi, it would be enough to dispel the greedy ghost's killing intent. However, he did not expect that. You will die like this. The ninth princess's face was pale. She was terrified. If Jiangchen died because of this, she would be considered a sinner. At that time, how would she answer those ancestors? Roar! While ninth elder and ninth princess were panic-stricken and at a loss of what to do, wisps of grey fog suddenly rose from Jiangchen's body. At the same time, Jiangchen roared like a ferocious ghost crying. In the depths of his soul, a murderous aura erupted. Murderous aura? He became a murderous aura earlier? The ninth princess and old ninth exclaimed. They did not expect that Jiangchen's body still had murderous aura. However, the murderous aura had been suppressed previously. Now that it encountered the greedy ghost's killing intent, the murderous aura actually broke through the seal. Moreover, the murderous aura seemed to have a mind of its own. It had identified Jiangchen's body and soul as its territory. Now, there was an additional murderous aura. In the eyes of the murderous aura, there was no doubt that it was here to snatch its territory. In an instant, the grey murderous aura and the blood-red murderous aura on Jiangchen's body, and even soul began to collide. Shocking explosions were heard. Those who did not know would think that there was thunder exploding in Jiang Chen's body. After a dozen breaths, the left side of Jiang Chen's body was shrouded in gray fog, while the right side of his body was drowned in blood. One gray and one red, they were in a deadlock. As for Jiang Chen, he kept rolling his eyes and foaming at the mouth. He was clearly holding on desperately. Can you do it? Old Ninth frowned. How can we help you? No one can help him, the Ninth Princess said in a low voice. This is his karma. If it's a murderous aura, it's better to become a murderous aura. Suddenly, Jiang Chen roared. Under the vibration of his soul, the last seal on the murderous aura was broken. In an instant, the murderous aura exploded. The gray fog rushed to the sky and drowned the blood-red murderous aura in an instant. In the end, the blood-red murderous aura was shrouded by the gray fog and gradually shrank. Finally, it turned into a blood-red light spot and was suppressed under Jiang Chen's soul. This has become a murderous aura? Are you okay? The Ninth Princess and Old Ninth hurriedly asked. They could feel that Jiang Chen's current situation was not right. He had become a murderous aura. However, what surprised them was that after Jiang Chen became a murderous aura, other than the change in his aura, there did not seem to be anything strange about him. Even his pupils were so clear and limpid. However, when Jiang Chen looked at others, in the depths of his pupils, there was a very obscure trace of violence, as if he would attack at any time. I've become a murderous aura before, so I'm used to it, Jiang Chen whispered. I can restrain myself. What about the greedy ghost? Old Ninth asked. The contract has been formed. Now he's my Tao item, Jiang Chen whispered. With a wave of his hand, the blood-red light spot that was suppressed under his soul appeared. Then, the greedy ghost appeared in Jiang Chen's hand. However, at this moment, the greedy ghost was surrounded by layers of murderous aura and had lost all its murderous aura. However, upon closer inspection, this murderous aura was also entwined with strands of murderous aura. Obviously, the greedy ghost's murderous aura was not completely sealed. Instead, it was entwined with the murderous aura. The two seemed to have reached a certain balance. This was a good thing for Jiang Chen. The murderous aura and murderous aura had formed a certain balance. The murderous aura could not invade his body, and the murderous aura could not enter his soul. That was why Jiang Chen was able to remain clear-headed. However, if one day, the balance between the murderous aura and murderous aura disappeared, Jiang Chen would either be devoured by the murderous aura or drowned by the murderous aura. What's with your expressions? I'm fine now. Jiang Chen chuckled. He knew his condition, but he still looked very relaxed on the surface. I, Old Ninth, don't like touching words. I, Old Ninth, and the entire Nine Heavens dynasty will remember today's kindness. Old Ninth's expression was solemn. He cupped his hands and bowed to Jiang Chen. Thank you for today. You're tuning into the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.